call this meeting, monthly meeting of the Stratford Town Council. I'll call the meeting to order. And first item on the agenda, I want to acknowledge the land upon which we gather as the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. And we pay our respects to the Indigenous Mi'kmaq people of this territory, past, present, and future. I'd like to welcome all residents who are here tonight, staff as well, and I'd especially like to welcome MLA Carla Bernard. Thank you for attending, and former MLA Michelle Beaton. So thank you for being here tonight. So the second item on our agenda, I'd also like to welcome everyone that's watching online or the recording later on. So really appreciate the engagement of Stratford residents in our town's affairs. We have a really full agenda tonight, so I'll get right to it. Second item on the agenda is a declaration of conflict of interest. Does anyone around the table have any conflict with any of the items that we're going to be covering here tonight? If not, we'll move to item 3, which is approval of the agenda. The agenda is before you. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to the agenda that anyone would like to propose? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I'll move, Your Worship.
Second? Second, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, the minutes of our regular monthly meeting of the 14th of May, 2025 are in your package. Are there any additions, deletions, or changes to those minutes that anyone would like to propose? If not, I'll entertain a motion for approval of those minutes. Thank you. Seconder? Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Is there any business arising from the minutes that we will not be covering here tonight? Okay, if not, and we don't have any advance notice of any presentations from the floor? No? Okay. And my report is in your package. Just go over a couple of highlights. One of the big highlights was the 30th anniversary of the celebration of the founding of and the amalgamation and the forming of the town of Stratford 30 years ago, and that was a great celebration. My compliments to staff who worked so hard on that. It was also the launch of the Legacy book, which is 15 stories from residents, which were done by 15 youth of our town, and it was a real success. And I got a copy. I was really impressed with it. So that was a really nice milestone for our town. Attended the FPEI regular board meeting, Chamber of Commerce President's Luncheon. We talked with the Rotary Club about some possibility of some joint projects here in Stratford. Also a visitor from New South Wales, Australia, who was interested in how we were doing things, and we also learned from that lady as well about how things are done down there, and so it was a great opportunity for learning. Attended the Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability Committee. We had a great meeting with the MP Kent MacDonald, focused on the Wellness Center, which we are hoping to get federal support for and to be able to get started on that as soon as possible. I was in Ottawa for a week for the annual general meeting of the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, and we had a meeting with the fire department about acquiring a new ladder truck and some of the challenges that are underway, but I think we walked away with a good plan for moving forward. Yeah, so that's my, as well as the regular council of the whole meeting and the council meeting last month. Any questions or comments on my report?
I'd like to comment on the 30 years, Your Worship. It was a great day or afternoon there, and I've talked about the 4 mayors that concurrently, including yourself and Dunphy and Jenkins and so what's Mayor Mike Farmer, yeah.
The original mayor, yeah.
But I always looked in the background of the CEOs of town, and all those 30 years we had 2 CEOs, Robert Hughes and Jeremy Crosby. So that's how strong our CEOs are in this town and developing this town. And just in the background, of course, we have Deputy CEO Jeremy Crosby, and before Jeremy Crowder became a CEO, he was a deputy, and following Robert Hughes' footsteps. But behind those scenes, good towns have strong CEOs, and it was great to see that.
Yeah, that's where the work gets done, the
Yeah.
staff and the CAO. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and we're lucky to have a real professional staff and a great CAO, so.
Yeah.
Thanks for those comments.
Yeah.
With that, unless there's any other comments, it's a nice segue to the Chief Administrative Officer's report.
Okay.
So I'll ask him Jeremy Crosby, to give his report.
Thank you, Your Worship. My report is in your package. I'll just go over a few of the highlights. Along with the Deputy CAO, we met with the transit operator to discuss some alterations to our existing routes to allow for more internal transit within the community, and we're working on that now, and there has been a presentation to council, so hopefully we will be able to travel around within the community until we do get more equipment or rolling stock, and then we'll be able to look at a more permanent internal route within the community. Attended the presentation from the FAAS architecture regarding the permit-ready plans being developed for the town, and those are plans that once they're approved, a developer can come in and actually choose those plans and be able to start working on them right away. As you indicated, the town's 30th anniversary celebration and legacy book launch was it was a great afternoon, and it was great to see former councillors, mayor, and staff at that event, and well attended. I participated in the interview process and internal review of the MGA, and also I submitted some changes that we would like to see with regard to that, and that's being reviewed now. Along with the mayor and the deputy CEO, we attended a meeting with the Stratford Rotary Club to discuss projects and initiatives that they could do here in the town, and we're working on that with them as well. And along with the mayor and the deputy CEO, we attended a meeting with our newly elected member of parliament, Kent MacDonald, to discuss Stratford projects and initiatives. Really good meeting, and there's going to be a follow-up to that. And lastly, I attended the annual conference of the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators, CAMA, in Quebec. The event was very engaging, featuring discussions on artificial intelligence and presentations by Michael Landsberg, who addressed depression in the workplace and offered solutions and techniques to support employees. Chantal Hébert was there and provided a thought-provoking analysis of Canada's current and future political landscape. And then additionally, Sarah McFennell, leading expert in recognition culture, talked about the importance of recognizing the greatness in others, and how fostering a culture of appreciation can transform workplaces, boost morale, and drive success. So that's my report, and I just wanted to acknowledge that Councillor Gordy Cox and Councillor Ron Dowling were not able to attend the meeting tonight. Just they had previous engagements or were not feeling well. So, any questions on my report?
Any comments or questions?
No, it's great. I'm good.
Yeah, I neglected to mention that. I'm sorry. I should have mentioned it. And Councillor Jeff MacDonald will be along shortly.
Correct.
He's doing some functions, his responsibilities with the Home and School Association at Glen Stewart.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for your report, Jeremy.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, oh, sorry. Did you have a comment?
I'm not going to the mic, I'm just doing something for Carter.
Okay. Did you have a comment, Councillor Jackson? I noticed you were going to the microphone.
No, it was just... There we go. Sorry. No, it was just about Councillor MacDonald was planning to be here at 5, so if need be, we may want to shuffle
Yeah.
reports if need be, and that's all I was going to say, Your Worship.
Yeah, the planning, he will be leading the discussion on the planning-related items, and hopefully he'll be here without any undue delay. So that's not for another three items on the agenda. So we'll now move to safety services, and in the absence of Councillor Dowling, I'll ask the deputy, the vice chair of that committee, Deputy Mayor Steve Gallant, to give his report.
Just got me by surprise here. Forgot all about it. But anyway, thank you, Your Worship. We had our meeting there last week, and the minutes are in your package. So it was some of the stuff that we talked about was review on, Hopeton Drive and so on. I guess the update on Barclay Avenue completed. I guess the safety service has more or less of unsightly premises. The new business emergency service profiling, update from the Councillor Dowling. We're looking to concentrate on emergency service itself, like the fire department and the RCMP, and have a day sort of a show and tell or with the residents of the town of Stratford and show how appreciative we are of the emergency service we have and the paramedics. So it's very successful. And went off a couple of years when the RCP had the anniversary there, went over really, really well. So we're trying to bring that back. Permanent speed humps. I guess there, like a lot of people are probably feeling the bumps now and humps and through our town. And so just some of the stuff. That's all I have there. But the street lighting report, there's nothing there for street lighting. There's no way to street lights. And the RCMP monthly report, I want to ask the corporal to come up. And you can speak, you can go over his monthly report.
Yeah, and I neglected to recognize Corporal Painter and I thank him for attending tonight.
Yeah.
It's always good to have Corporal here, and thanks a lot for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Nice to be here. All right, so we had 353 occurrences in the town of Stratford during the month of May, with 340 of those being founded or still under investigation. Those numbers are higher than last month and slightly higher than May 2024. We saw a rise in traffic enforcement with 201 occurrences, 59% of the monthly occurrences that turns out to be. We had 5 impaired driving occurrences. Charges were laid for impaired while driving on 2 of those files, and 1 charge for refusing to provide a breath sample as well. Of note, much like last month there, for those 2 driving, the 2 that provided samples, I should say.
Yes.
2.9 times the legal limit and 3 times the legal limit. So
Is that
it's
alcohol or?
quite high of alcohol.
Alcohol?
Yeah, so quite high.
Yeah.
We had 3 charges for driving while disqualified or suspended, 7 motor vehicle collisions. We issued 66 summary offense tickets and 41 warnings. Conducted 36 step files around the town and 2 check-stops. The number that really stands out is the 24 mischief occurrences. I know we've talked about this previous months as well, and 6 of those being noise related, a couple being alcohol related, like causing disturbance, that kind of stuff. Nothing to stand out in terms of damage wise.
Okay.
I was contacted by the town in regards to unhoused encampments under the Hillsborough Bridge. We had members conduct regular patrols to ensure nobody was camping underneath and to make sure it was safe for residents to use and enjoy. We documented 29 patrols during various times of the day and night throughout about a 4-week time period. And nobody was located under there, nobody camping underneath, which was good. So we've been working with the town, Stratford, and Department of Transportation, who the DOT actually put locks on the gates there last week. So we're hoping that'll keep people away from there. So we'll continue to keep that as part of our regular patrol too, and make sure nobody moves in there. So that was positive though, because this is the time of year they really move in. So that's good. Constable McGrath attended the Safety Services meeting on behalf of the RCMP. I wasn't able to attend that day. And Constable Bonus, Constable McDonald and I attended the Glen Stored Primary School. We met with 6 grade 1 classes, did a small presentation for them on safety, gave them a tour of our police cars. It was a lot of fun. They enjoyed it, I think. So that's it for the RCMP. Even in the last couple of weeks here, you see a big rise in traffic. Call volume starting to pick up there as well. So we'll see if we can safely get through June here while the kids are on the last leg of school and kick summer off the right way. So.
Any comments or questions on Corporal Painter's report? Go ahead, Councillor. Oh, sorry, Councillor Jackson.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you, Corporal Painter, for being here again, and for your patrols down by the Hillsborough Bridge.
Yep.
While your members are in the area, I've been advised that the home that was unsecured down there previously is unsecured again by some passersby. So maybe if there's a way you could check.
Sure.
The one just by the bridge, I think we know which
Yeah,
one.
right at the foot there.
And did hear of some Fisher folks, a young couple that were, whether it's 100% true or not, but just kind of confronted by someone with potentially a knife. Might have been in a mental health crisis at the time, and the folks did turn and leave, but I know it's just something maybe, whether they're in camp down there, but there was, heard from a few people that there was a bit of an incident, so just keep an eye, I guess, if possible down there. And the last thing, just to table this again, not sure if there's been any movement with Charlottetown joining the JET team, and I know that's kind of for the main office folks, Corporal Painter, but I'd like to see continued pressure on them, just for situational awareness, just general collaboration.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about collaboration and shared services and things like that, so I think that's a missed opportunity. New CAO, former police chief, and a new police chief, and I'd love to see them maybe try again. I know that's not our lane, but I'd like to see us just tabling it for, just for my own thoughts on this, but I'd like to see them try harder. Charlottetown should be a part of that. So I guess that's all I'm going to say on it, but I'd like to see that pushed
Yeah.
a little harder. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think ideally, if that can work out, it's gonna benefit everybody. And I believe you guys have a meeting with,
Superintendent?
yeah,
Tomorrow morning, yeah.
is it tomorrow? Okay, so I'm sure that topic will probably come up tomorrow as well, and
Yeah.
yeah, you're right, they're the ones that carry that weight and are able to give you a solid answer. Unfortunately, I don't have that for you, so.
No, and just,
But yeah, I totally
just
agree.
appreciate it, same as when Corporal Weatherby was here, just the ability to collaborate on files, and I know from former police officers here and current, just the ability to share that information and just work as a team. I mean, I'm not sure why Charlottetown would need their own or would desire to have their own when we have the expertise and you know, the quality of members that we have in all the other areas. So again, if that could be brought up, just, I mean, more as a resident than as a counselor, but just like to see.
Yeah.
And just for your information, if you don't mind, I'll just
Go ahead.
give some information about this. I did have an opportunity to discuss this with the Mayor of Charlottetown and with a couple of the councillors that were at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities meeting in Ottawa. And I think that there is, you know, some support, you know, for, and I also discussed the whole idea of shared services. You know, this is an example of an opportunity for shared services between the municipalities.
Yeah.
And I understand from your commanding officer, Corporal, that in spite of the fact that they're not members of JET, that are the Joint Enforcement Task Force, that they do share information and intelligence, and so it is, so they're using a workaround, but it is sort of functional, and so hopefully they can still be successful in getting the bad guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. That's what it's all about at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get that stuff off the road.
Yeah.
And in terms of the person with the knife, was that down near that residence that we were talking about?
My understanding, and again, this is secondhand, was just a young couple that was going out to fish down there, and there was someone obviously in a different, you know, mental health crisis, I guess, to be blunt, who was walking towards folks and you know, maybe not intending to be a threat, but was taken that way. So, yeah, good to see. I mean, great to hear that there's
Yeah.
patrols down there, and we're watching for things happening, and that's, you know, unfortunately that does happen, but try to keep it from happening, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people fish down there, so yeah, we'll definitely keep that in mind. Yeah, you bet. Thanks.
Thanks. Oh, sorry,
Just
go
to
ahead.
just comment and report there, Corporal. Great stats there with with HDAs and so on, speeding and so on, and preventive measures in our town and so on. And I was just looking, I know school's going to be out, always community-based policing always interested me when I was a policeman. Reaching out to the public, and I see just before school's out, you reach out to seniors and you're at the schools and so on, and I hope that continues.
Yes.
And, you know, within the fall and so on, especially with our new senior high school and junior high school, and, you know, teaching kids on, you know, do's and don'ts, right?
Yes.
And so that, but I know we were very, very into it when you arrived here, and continue on there, and we're so pretty pleased that way with that. So it's great, and of course we have 7 members, and we're growing, and you know, and it so we just want to continue the movement, I guess, as you call it. But we're very with the numbers there. I see all the stats are different locations in Stratford, so you're not in one area. So but it's all preventive, and even you know yourself, a warning ticket is as good as a ticket, right?
Yeah.
You're stopped and lights there, and people driving by, and well, who's that? My neighbor? That's Steve Ogden? Is he getting a ticket? No, but anyways, you know, but it's always good that way. So
Yeah.
keep up the great work.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other comments or questions for the corporal? I just have a couple, Corporal.
Sure.
I'm really pleased that you attended Glen Stewart and provided that presence and that
Yeah.
great, you know, message to the young children of the town that policemen are their friends and they're not to be feared. And I guess with regard to the unsecured property, I guess it's not the RCMP's role to make sure the property is secured. I just wonder if the property owner has been contacted. Maybe I'll ask my CIO that question, or if not, maybe we could make an effort to contact him or her to make sure that property is secured.
Yeah, this is the first we've heard of it today, so we will.
Okay,
We've had contact with them before, so we should be able to do it again.
okay, great.
Is that the one on the bridge?
Yeah.
Yep.
And the other thing is, with regard to youth and seniors, I really appreciate, as I said, I really appreciate the work you're doing. There is another opportunity, I guess, over the summer. There's a summer camp here of young people.
That's right.
That would be, you know, interested in hearing
Yep.
anything about what the police are doing, as well as at the youth center. They're always good to, you know, and I know you have been to the youth center already, and,
Yeah.
you know, you can overdo something, but at the same time, maybe when the new year starts or whatever, there could be another presentation or another
Yeah.
contact made, or,
Absolutely.
You know.
Yeah, we're always willing to, and
yeah. They
Well,
really
the
like the
opportunities
police dog and all that stuff, and all the
yes,
gadgets
yeah.
and stuff.
Yeah, they don't care about us. They care about the dog.
Make the siren go and all that sort of stuff, yeah, yeah. No, I really appreciate what you're doing. As I said to you before, the fact that I'm not getting comments or complaints in the grocery store about speeding and, you know, about
Yeah.
policing in general is a really good sign. So thank you very much for what
Yeah,
you're
it's
doing,
great.
keeping us all safe. Thanks a lot.
Just another thing, just to add, July 1st, Steve, Canada Day. We're, you know, you're probably quite aware of, we're going to be at the waterfront. This is our first event
Yes.
at their waterfront or boardwalk. So hopefully Melody's got everything in order there. So hopefully everybody, you guys make an appearance that day, make your members aware.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. I got an email from her the other day, so I said we will be there. So
Yeah, I mean, it's a great location for fireworks after, you know, before, and I guess the hot dogs are $1, but I don't know why they're $1, but.
I'll
Anyway,
buy you one.
yeah, okay. Well, but anyways, hope to see you there. Thank you.
Yes, we'll be there. You bet.
Yeah, thanks
Thank
again.
you.
Thank you very much. Okay, we now move on to Humane Society report. Is there anything to report with regard to the Humane Society?
No, nothing to add, Your Worship. As I say, no, nothing to add there.
And Crossroads Fire Department, we did have a good meeting with the fire department about the fire truck, the new fire truck, or the new ladder truck.
Yeah.
So
you could-
hopefully there's a plan
Yeah.
that we will, and I understand the province is involved as well.
Yes,
So hopefully going forward, we'll be able to help them acquire that.
yes, it's on
that unit.
the charts, yeah.
Great.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you very much for your report, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you very much.
All right, I'll now move to recreation, culture, and events. And I guess in the absence of the chair, I'll ask the vice chair, Councillor Jill Chandler, to give the report.
Okay, I will just provide some highlights. The Recreation, Culture, and Events Committee did not meet in May. Some of the things that are
on the go right now, as mentioned, the Canada Day celebrations. And obviously, this is a new location at Michael Thomas Waterfront Park, the first year for this. We are really looking forward to it. It's going to have the same excitement and cultural flair as the event that previously took place at Tea Hill. But it's really, considering what that used to be and what we're turning that into, it's a pretty big reason to celebrate for a number of factors. So hopefully you guys will join us. In regards to the Stratford Community Campus, as we know, construction is progressing on Stratford High School. The town is kind of in the next phase of development, expansion of the active transportation network, with new multi-use trails and pathways being developed to connect key areas of the campus and surrounding neighborhoods. In addition to trail development, work will also begin on the sports fields that will serve both the new high school and the wider community. And more details on that can be found. And of course, the construction of the pickleball facility is set to begin in the next couple of months. Stratford Youth Center and Council had their yard sale last weekend, and from what I understand, it was well attended. They still have lots of things going on this summer with leadership groups traveling to various destinations in Nova Scotia. We have a new staff member, Carson McLeod, I believe, 14-week term as a summer camp coordinator. And the Youth Center Leadership Group will be operating the Snack Shack Canteen at Canada Day. So that, of course, is a fundraiser. Make sure you buy a treat or two there. Summer maintenance and planning is ongoing, and Jeremy Pierce could answer any questions that anyone had in regards to that. And of course, art projects, we've been keeping you up to date on. The mural projects will begin, and murals are going at the Waterfront Park, Pondside Park, and the barn at Cotton Park, and they're going to be very exciting. The ferry trail is underway, and that's at Cotton Park, so that's just some creative elements added to the trail to engage with and beautify the space. And as we continually highlight the Poppy Project, which began as a concept and then got actualized with a really clear pathway on who would participate and how that information would be communicated, has exceeded all expectations. So I think the original goal was 4,000 poppies, and they have brought in over 8,000, and I think that continues. So that is a tremendous success. And from what I understand, we even had people from across the country sending poppies. So people as far as British Columbia have contributed to this project. And a reminder, although I'm no longer the chair of Recreation, Arts and Culture, this is a cultural initiative that creates great pride and engagement. And this is just one small example of why it's important to focus and invest in the arts. Councillor Jackson.
You know, there's no bigger supporter of the arts in Stratford than I am.
It's,
I do
feel I'm
appreciate you
seeing-
bringing it up.
Yes, I feel I'm seeing some growth in that regard. But I do hammer on this point because it's true. It's easy to look at other things, but these are the things that bring residents together. And when residents feel connected in our community, they care more for our community. So it has multiple far-reaching impacts. So that concludes the report. If anyone has any questions, I can do my best, or we can defer to Jeremy Pierce. Anyone?
Just a question on the pickleball. When did we start in the Atlantic pickleball facility on the campus? I think the shovel's in the ground the end of the month.
The actual purchase just went through, and they have applied for land clearing or foundational work permit right now. So
Yep.
they are aiming to get shovels into the ground as soon as possible. And I know their structure, the pre-engineered portion of their structure has been ordered and is anticipated to arrive in August. So a lot of work to be done in the next 6 weeks before that arrives.
Can you explain to some of the residents what the facility has it, or like you say, 9 indoor courts and so on?
Yeah, the facility has 9 indoor courts. It
Yeah.
also has a gathering, social welcoming area, front desk, reception area.
Yeah.
Projected to have indoor golf simulators in the wintertime and 2 retail spaces up front.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Thank you, Jeremy.
Any other comments or questions on Councillor Chandler's report? If not, thank you for your report, Councillor. We'll now move on to Finance and Technology. I'll ask the chair of that committee, Councillor Jody Jackson, to give his report.
Thank you, Worship. In the essence of time tonight, with the many things we have on the agenda, I'll try to be brief. And just to Councillor Chandler's mention on the arts, I come from a family, I don't have any musical talent, but I come from a long line of musicians and storytellers, so nice to see the town embracing music, and concerts are a nice form of public art, I think, too, in my mind anyway, so it's nice to see that. So on to finance, the minutes of the May 21st meeting are in our package. Just some highlights of that. So we are waiting on the official agreement. We haven't signed yet, I guess, on the new revenue sharing agreement with the province, but it's nice to see that come forth as of April 1st, 2025, that just passed. It's going to be very helpful as we maintain and grow our programs and services for residents. So with that, so that wasn't part of the budget for this year. So as we get through the year, we will review our expenditures and make sure that we have enough to do the things we want to, and if there's any extra, we will allocate those appropriately. So, and again, just with that, we continue to experience the uncertainty with the markets and the tariffs and rising costs across the board, and the growing uncertainty down in the south of the border. So again, stay tuned on that. At that meeting as well, we had a presentation from Jeremy Pierce on the community campus and look at some of the economic impacts that would go along with that development, the recreational and cultural side of that, and just the sheer impact that would have and will have on our town is staggering. We did at the finance meeting also just talk, I know your worship, you did mention discussions with the fire department. So discussions are underway between the Crossroads Fire Department, the PEI government, and the town on the need for new ladder truck. Our current one's approaching 25 years old, which is essentially end of life. So it's good to hear that we're all working collaboratively and trying to figure out a replacement for that. Lastly, town income and utility income statements are in the package. So again, early days. We're only a month or two into the year, so not much to see there so far. But if there's any questions, I would defer to our Director of Finance, Kim. But any questions from anyone?
No.
All right.
Good.
Thank you.
Just a comment. With regard to revenue sharing, I think it's important to recognize that this is a bridging agreement only, and in the agreement, or the new bridging settlement or whatever, it didn't take into account either fire or policing, both of which have escalated over the past 3 years, probably in excess of 30%.
That's right.
And so it's important that that be recognized, that municipalities are still, didn't receive the funding. It is, and I would hope that negotiations start very soon, because we have 2 years to reach a new agreement, hopefully a permanent agreement that will make municipalities across PEI, including ours, sustainable and give us the funding that we need to fulfill our mandate and our responsibilities.
Thank you, Worship, and it's great. Well, we have current MLA and former MLA from Stratford in the audience. Know that they are more than happy to take on some of these issues with the province. We've been working collaboratively with the province, but it's great when we have, be great to have unanimous support across all areas on that. And just to your worship, your comment around the fire and the police, it has been a massive kind of growing cost here for us in the last number of years. We've had great service, continue to have great service from our volunteer fire department and our RCMP and all first responders, EMS being stationed at the facility as well. But it is important to recognize that. And I know there's a lot of work underway in discussions with the province between Fire Marshal's office and some of the other entities around just the growing expectations on not only of fire members, but also our other first responders, and how vital they are to the province, and taking on so many frontline health services. So that's something that it'd be nice, again, to have, our folks in the audience are no strangers to that and to that file. The other on just a 2-year agreement, it would be, again, nice to have push across the board on not only a quick kind of move to a new agreement, but also recognition that if it doesn't happen right away, we'd like to see it be retroactive to the end of that agreement, just so that we don't lose ground. Again, we've had a number of years without agreement until this one was just developed, but we did lose, I believe, at least 3 years where we had no increase. So our costs are more than that, and our costs are increasing every year. We want to continue to not only enhance service, but even just maintain service. So again, Your Worship, appreciate the comment and know that you're a fierce advocate at the table for these things.
Thank you. And I also think it's important, as you recognized as well, that our current MLAs, Jill Councilor, or Minister, who's also a minister, MLAs, Jill Burridge and MLA Jen Redmond is, they've been great advocates, and they went to bat for us, and for the agreement that we did get, and we know that they'll be in our corner, hopefully for all municipalities in the upcoming negotiations.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah, it's even hard for them as being an MLA, and we're two here tonight, but given the way we're growing, we're unique, or the way our population is growing, we're almost going to be up to Summerside in 4 or 5 more years' time, population, the way our town is growing, and then looking at cost-wise. So we're in a new position, the way we're growing, and we need that help right now, right? So they got to look at, it's, they give the one, they got to give it to all. So we got to find a way to get that fire truck around that way.
That's a good point. The fact that we're unique in the sense that we've tripled in size since we were formed in 1995, and there's, we've led the area, the region in growth 2 out of the last 3 census periods. So that is an important factor to consider. Okay, thank you very much for your report, Councillor, and glad that we're, in spite of all the challenges, we're still in good, relatively good financial state. Okay, with that, we'll now move to item 12, Planning, Development, Heritage, and I'll turn it over to the chair of that committee, Councillor Jeff McDonald.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have our minutes there for everyone's review, unapproved, but I've taken a look and they're as it was at the meeting. We also have our building permit summary from May. A somewhat more quiet month for May this year as opposed to last year. The missing middle is literally the missing middle in the form of not really much happening in the form of mid-density developments such as townhomes or condominiums or apartments or anything of that nature. Though commercial development still is going well, and so is single family, though we do expect, considering the agenda we have tonight for planning, development, and heritage, some significant influx in building types and permits that will be issued over the next coming months. So certainly things continue to look rosy as it relates to development within the town. We do have a number of resolutions for consideration tonight, Your Worship. So without further ado, I will begin with our first one, which is Resolution PH 0202025, RZ001-24 from R&D Builders. This is a request for a zoning map amendment from the R2 with a sustainable subdivision overlay to R3, known as Forest Trails Phase 4, encompassing PID 289512. This is for second reading, and it reads as follows. Whereas an application has been received from R&D Builders requesting to rezone PID 289512, located at the end of Hollis Avenue, from the medium-density residential R2 zone with a sustainable subdivision overlay zone to the multiple-unit residential R3 zone. And whereas the purpose of the zoning amendment is to facilitate the future consideration of multi-unit buildings and stacked townhouse dwellings, and whereas in accordance with the Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, 54 notification letters were sent out to property owners whose parcels were within 150 meters of the subject properties. 2 advertisements were placed in the Guardian on September 9th and October 5th, 2024, and the proposed zoning amendment was advertised on social media to solicit input and to notify residents of the public meeting. And whereas a public meeting was held on October 8th, 2024 with 35 residents in attendance, It was also live streamed on the town's Facebook and YouTube. Residents were given until October 20th, 2024 to submit their comments. Whereas comments from the town's live stream were read into the record and recorded in the minutes, and whereas planning staff received 2 response letters from residents before the meeting, and 18 letters were received after the meeting, before the October 20th deadline, providing comments and concerns with the proposed zoning amendment and proposed future development of the subject lands. Whereas the Planning Committee at their November 8th, 2024 meeting decided to hold off making a recommendation until more information had been obtained regarding the road capacity of Hollis Avenue, the location and boundaries of a newly delineated wetland, and a preliminary grading plan. Whereas correspondence was received from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure in December 2024 regarding extension of Hollis Avenue, which stated they do not see the need for a traffic study to be conducted for this proposed road extension and future development. Whereas a standard watercourse and wetland delineation report from Fundy Engineering was submitted to the town and Department of Environment, Energy, and Climate Action from R&D builders outlining revised boundaries of the wetland on the subject lands in early January 2025. Whereas correspondence was received from the Department of Environment, Energy, and Climate Action in late January 2025, agreeing to work with R&D builders in the determination of the final boundaries of the wetland and determine if compensation would be required. Whereas a preliminary storm drainage plan completed by SCL Engineering was submitted by R&D builders to the town in March 2025 that show that the property can be graded properly to direct water away from neighboring properties and toward Hollis Avenue. Whereas the Planning Committee at their March 31st, 2025 and June 2nd, 2025 meetings reviewed the additional information listed above, which addressed the issues identified at November 8th, 2024 Planning Committee meeting. Be it resolved that bylaw number 45T, a bylaw to amend the Town of Stratford zoning development bylaw, be hereby read and approved a second time. This is moved by myself, Your Worship, and this resolution does bear the recommendation of Planning Development Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on June 2nd, 2025.
Thank you. Discussion. Seconder. Do I have a seconder?
Seconder,
Okay. Councillor Chandler, thank you.
Yep.
All right. Discussion. Comments, questions? Do we have something from the planning department, or do you want to start us off?
Well, actually, Your Worship, I was going to call upon Mr. Ruffer, planner,
Okay.
to come forward. I just have, just to provide an update, I guess, on where things stand as it relates to our meeting on June the 2nd, the discussion there, and to provide everybody with an update as to where it's at. This has been before us for some time in one form or another, and certainly there's been an evolution on the evidence that we have as well as what the issues might be.
Okay.
Yeah, so this is actually the second reading coming forward. So the first one was not last month, the previous month. So there was, at first reading, there was a couple of items noted, predominantly to do with traffic, the wetland, and there was one other, which I'm drawing a blank on. Stormwater.
Stormwater.
So the applicants have been working with the province on the wetland. So they have been working through a wetland delineation. They were looking at revisiting the delineation of the wetland this spring. So they were hoping to have something to us this month as to the final boundaries on it. So they have been working with the civil engineers and the applicants on that. There was a stormwater management plan given, which is included in your package, that shows that stormwater can and will be directed towards the road and not onto adjacent properties. And then we also did get comments from transportation on the road connection. So they're in support of it, and they don't require any further studies on it. So what we did do is we cleared up the survey plan, so it just shows the lots being proposed. What is not being considered at this point is the specific development. So we're only dealing with the rezoning, and then later on it'd be the subdivision. The specific development on the property is a different project altogether and not under consideration at this time. So,
Mr. Ruff, can you briefly just go over the criteria that are used to evaluate a rezoning application?
yeah, so there is a whole section It's actually, we don't have it here. It's in our zone bylaw, which covers things to consider, which I can bring it up on my computer. Give me a second. Didn't have that prepared. Sorry. So it's section 3.2. Sorry, my system's going slow. Okay, so there are general criteria dealing with the conformity of the proposal with regards to the bylaw. We also look at conformity with the official plan, and then conformity with any provincial land use policies, if applicable, which are currently not in place at the provincial level. We deal with the suitability of the site for the proposed development, including any preservation of existing site features or earthworks. You deal with the compatibility of the proposed development with the surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected uses. There's F, deals with comments from residents or other interested parties. We also look at the adequacy of existing infrastructure, such as water, sewer, road, stormwater, electrical. There's also the economic and environmental viability of any proposed utility, road extensions, or development and maintenance of public open spaces. Other factors include the impact of the proposed development on all modes of transportation, including access and safety. There's the compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding environmental, aesthetic, scenic, and heritage features. There's also impacts on town finances and budgets. And then a couple of general ones, any other matters within the bylaw or any other matters considered relevant by council. So there's a whole criteria which zoning amendments are reviewed with.
Okay. So if memory serves me correctly, the last time this was presented to council for first reading and it was approved at our previous council meeting, right?
Previous two councils.
Two council meetings. It was deferred at our last meeting because
Yes.
I understood that the wetland was to be delineated in order by the province in order for us to move forward. In your estimation, I guess, and just for the benefit of residents and people that might be watching online, can you briefly talk about the evaluation that was done by planning staff and by planning committee of this rezoning request?
Yeah, so it is, we had it at the package, sorry, I'll bring it up. So it would, who's directing? Can you scroll up a bit? We can actually bring it up on the screen because it's part of the package that went to planning committee. Can you click on the minutes at 12A? We do. And then I think we're actually 9A, 9 item. Yeah, 9A. So scroll down. It's a ways down. It's like page 22, I think. you're almost there. There you go. So, just in terms of, there was like a lot of public notice required on it. So we did have a public meeting in the fall of '24, and there was, so in October of '24, there was notification that went out, and then we did get a lot of comments in. So there was a summary of comments. So further, scroll down a little bit, public meeting. So I think we had 18 letters, and then there's a couple packages from a couple of condo boards that were signed in. So there are some general concerns raised on increase of traffic in the area, the proposed developments themselves. There was reference to the old Forest Trail neighborhood, the original design for it, potential strain on infrastructure. Some of the residents had no concerns. There was some that were pleased that McIntosh and Hollis were going to get connected. So you had both positive and negative comments coming in. And then, so it did go to the planning committee in November, and they did hold off making a recommendation because they predominantly the traffic impact, stormwater, and wetland. So which have since been dealt with. So transportation has said they're not requiring traffic study, and it's, since the transportation deals with the roads, we rely on them and their comments. There is stormwater management plan. We did get one in from, I believe, SCL. It is in the council package. So they do show water can be directed away from either any of the lots on Dewar or John Knox. And then the wetland delineation is currently the one underway. So between when the application was first made and when it came through, the wetland on the area was previously identified as a wet area. It was never officially designated. During the review process, the province did designate the area south of where Hollis would be going, essentially as a wetland. So the applicant at that time did have their own assessment done as a wetland delineation, and they submitted that to the province in January, and the province has been working with them on that delineation. So a number of the lots in question, one in particular, they said, hey, it can be developed, it's fully within wetland. They're willing to work with the applicants on lots 2, 3, and 4, a couple of the other lots. And then the bulk of the land south of Hollis is fully within that wetland. So this spring, they were doing the on-site visits, just in light of their new policies, which came out this month. So in terms of planning ones, so planning itself is actually a delicate balance between the concern of the public good and the private interests of landowners. Both are important, and neither should be the sole focus of decision makers. So council, when reviewing and evaluating planning applications, must provide a thorough and thoughtful reasons for making their decisions. So under, where am I going? So there were some concerns with regards to density through here. So the density itself, there is an ability for council to grant a higher density in an area where there's environmental protection occurring. There is a clause in the zone bylaw that does allow consideration for that, where some of the land can't be developed for environmental purposes. So a couple of components as to the setup. So current zoning is actually not a guarantee of present zoning is not a guarantee of future zoning. So the zone bylaw does allow for a landowner or developer to apply to change the zoning and ultimately change the future development on their property. So this is being recognized at IRAC level on a number of recent cases, the latest being one last year, I think, up in Charlottetown. So the bylaw does allow for considerations on it, but it's dealt with on a case-by-case basis. It's by council. So in terms of the planning recommendation, the direction that the official plan is going for is for encouraging density and higher density development in particular. And the recommendation from staff as well as from the planning committee is for adoption with the reasoning provided. So.
Thank you. I understand, and I don't want to extend this too long, but I just one other question. In terms of good planning principles, is there any kind of rules to follow with regard to if you're putting medium density by low density or higher density by medium density? Is there any kind of planning principles that are to be respected? I'm thinking about things like buffer. Is there a requirement to have a buffer? Is it recommended as a good planning principle to have a buffer or some kind of transitional type of housing in between?
So in our zone bylaw, there isn't anything within the current zones that require buffering of that nature. In some of the zones, yes, such as the urban core zone, there is a requirement if you're buffering between, say, an apartment building next to a single-family dwelling area, you need a buffer zone. Within the current 2 or 3 zones, there's no buffering required. It's typically suggested that they offset, so not necessarily run, say, an apartment building right up against single detached dwellings. But it's typically what you want to do is you want to scale them up. So you have singles with townhouses and then apartments and then higher up. Is typically how it's done. There's nothing that says I can't put an apartment right next to a single. Typically we encourage that to scale them up. But our zone bylaw currently doesn't say apartments have to go beside a townhouse. So.
Okay, thank you. Director of Planning, Dale McKagan, is going to say a few words.
I just want to, scared to touch this. Council does have the right to impose conditions as they feel are necessary moving forward on these types of projects and other projects. So a condition may be, as you mentioned, that there's buffering there, there's vegetation, there's berms, or whatever the case may be, to impact the separation between existing development and future development. Also, the council can impose a development agreement and/or subdivision agreement if they choose to, with more finely tuned conditions in there as well to take care of that type of stuff, or additional things to make new developments fit. So there is that situation or outcome that council can impose conditions as they see necessary.
But just on that point, though, Mr. Director, I just want to clarify, though, that the imposition of conditions that you mentioned, that's not necessarily at the rezoning stage, though.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
You cannot do conditional zoning.
No. Yeah.
So the rezoning today is just for the rezoning itself. But in the future going forward, that could be a possibility if this goes through to the next level of application.
So not to put the cart before the horse.
Correct.
But at the same time, I was going to ask this question of Mr. Ruff in any event, but you're here so you can answer between the two of you if you so wish. But so with respect to that, when I review the information that was at planning board and also before us tonight,
right.
One of the items, for instance, comes from an email from Environment, Energy, Climate Change or Climate Action or something to that effect. Yeah. And they state that certainly one of the proposed areas for rezoning is clearly within, by anyone's definition, a wetland and cannot be developed upon. There's a couple of others where there's they indicate that they can work with the developer, so to speak. So it would be within those zones that you might consider, for instance,
fairly stringent conditions, perhaps, to mitigate those things. But that consideration is not before us right now for a rezone.
No, not at all. It's outside the realm of the rezoning.
Yeah.
And it can't be, as I understand it, that we're not allowed to put conditions on rezoning requests. And maybe, Mr. McKagan, if you could, just say a few words about the balance between, and I think Mr. Ruff alluded to it earlier, the balance between the rights of property owners and the rights of residents in the area, and the balance that has to be struck, you know, with recent IRAC decisions and with you know, the requirement by council to follow its policies and bylaws, basically to the letter. Can you say a few words about that?
Well, I think you hit on a key point as far as the bylaw and the provisions of that bylaw and what they stipulate, what we must follow. I mean, there's a difference between shall and may. If it's a shall, we must follow that. A may be a little more subjective, and we can try to do our best to make the balance work. But going forward, it's very important to realize that going from an R2 to an R3 is a natural progression in the zoning scheme of things. Doesn't mean it works, but it's a natural progression to go from one zone. That's why you do zoning gradients. You go R1, R2, R3, C1, C2, 3, that type of thing. It depends on what's being proposed for the site that's going to impact on the zoning or rezoning kind of situation. I know we try to look at things in isolation as far as it's a rezoning application, but as Mr. Ruff has indicated, there are some conditions in the bylaw that look at other aspects of development so that we move forward on what we're doing in the rezoning to make a strong, educated decision on things and in conformance with the bylaw.
Thank you very much for that.
Okay.
The only other thing I'd like to say, and then I'm going to turn it over to other comments and questions from councillors, is we really, as a council, and I know myself personally, really respect the views of nearby residents, and we really want to make sure that that's understood. But we're obligated to follow the rules and regulations, policies, and bylaws of the town, and also the jurisdictional roles here. The provincial government is responsible for delineating wetlands. Is that not correct, Mr. Ruff?
Yeah. It's
So we're really, our job is to, and our responsibility and our mandate, and the limit of our responsibility and jurisdiction is to look at if the rezoning meets with the requirements of the Planning Act and with our bylaws and policies, right?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, I'll open the floor for other comments and discussion.
Hey, just looking at the definition of sustainability subdivision overlay zone. This is going to be an overlay zone, right? Zone 3?
No. So the
Just
request,
R3?
the request is to go from the R2, which is the medium density zone. The sustainable overlay is currently on the property. The request is to pull that off and just go straight to the multi-unit R3 zone.
And that's
So-
what's going on here tonight? Just going to the straight R3?
Yes, yes. So it's currently the R2 zone with the overlay zone.
Okay.
The request from the applicant is to go from the R2 with the overlay to the R3.
Okay. Your worship, you said earlier, with respecting the residents, this doesn't conform with the existing official plan right now. We don't have a new official plan. This is the official plan right now. That area is zoned for R2 or the future. So I didn't hear anything at all in the Shape Stratford meetings of this zoning changing from R2 to 3. I heard lots of stories about the road connecting. I never heard nothing from going 2 to 3. Stratford is a community where land is used efficiently and sustainable while maintaining the character of existing neighborhoods. This area is surrounded by all twos in this area. Surrounding Autumn Lane, Balderson, Hollison, Reeves Estate, and so on. It's more or less, you're talking about spot zoning. You're dropping this 3 down and this 2. This development's all 2 around it, 2 behind it, 2 beside it, 2 in front of it. So we're trying to change the zone here tonight, and the official plan that we have right now, not the new official plan, it's R2. Spot zoning is the context of land use planning, refers to rezoning of single parcel or a small area within a large zone district, which is R2 there, where the rezoning is inconsistent with the surrounding area zoning or the city's comprehensive plan. It's often done to benefit the property owner of rezoned parcel and potentially at the expense of a surrounding community. They're looking for density here. They're looking to go to R3. What are they looking for? They're looking for apartments. They're looking to build 80 units and 36 on one side, 106 units. And those other 36 townhouse units, they can double it and go stack townhouses. So you got 116 units there, and the last plan there from Forest Trails was 26 units put up there. So do the math from 116 to 26. It's overpopulated, it's overcrowded, it's over there with everything. And with our plan, official plan that we're talking about around the table, we're looking at the downtown core with the Gray Group, 3,200 units, apartments. We're looking at Jackson, Jody's brother, 120. We're looking at Dunphyville and their other apartments. We're in the downtown core. This is where these apartments should be. So this gentleman, the contractor, is looking for apartments, and when he gets it to 3, then you go. Then there's no restriction. Then it's just looking at R3, have some restrictions, but special permit, and conditional use, and so on. Traffic. You put in 116 units times 2 cars, traffic, it's going to be very, very busy. Our town supervisor said speed bumps don't even control the traffic there going down Hollis. And then the other thing, we got parking. Parking, I don't know where you're going to park. There's no underground parking. The parking, you have trouble parking in the condos there now. At the park in the medium, there's cars parked there. There's not enough parking. And environmental assessment, wetland, I just don't even conservation, I put my hands up. I just stay away from it because I respect conservation and so on. I just want to stay away from it. But we're here tonight trying to change the zone from 2 to 3. I agree, keep it at 2, have some special conditions and so on, and have the road connected, connect to the Reeves Estate. Then the other thing I have is water damage, drainage. Reeves Estate, who's my area and Jody's area, they have water problems. Hollis has water problems. Autumn Lane has a water problem. It's going to be all water problems. It's just a headache, just another problem waiting to happen here. So tonight I'm going to, on those points, with the official plan and infrastructure, I'm voting against it. We're going to 2 to 3, and I don't know why I don't know why we're just looking to go to 2 to 3. No, we don't want to go to 3, but we're here. We have the official plan at 2. Stay at 2 and work with the residents.
Thank you for your comments, Deputy Mayor. Okay, any other comments?
Thanks for your comments. That was well thought out and executed. I do have a question in regards to the Department of Transportation determining that a traffic study wasn't needed. I wonder if there's any recourse on that decision or any chance to appeal it, because as a user, and I'm not a resident there, but as a user, as a parent of a soccer player, as somebody who's attended, businesses there, the addition of more housing already with the mixed use of recreational fields, with the addition of the high school and other fields, our active transportation, the industrial or commercial businesses that are on the corner with tractors, et cetera. I already feel it's a very, very busy street that people drive very fast on. And I am concerned about the impacts of traffic if we add more housing of that nature. So I guess I could have kept it simple, but yeah, can we say we don't agree with that determination? I'm not.
So with the traffic impact assessment, essentially that's what it is. What the impact assessment would do is it would take a look at the proposed development as to how many vehicles a day it's going to be. They take a look at what the road can handle. And essentially the impact assessment would be like, you're going to add, say, 400 vehicles a day. The road has a capacity of 600 vehicles. There's 300 there at the moment, so 3 and 6 is 7. So it's going to be like, your road is not going to be able to handle all that traffic, so you need to do X, Y, and Z upgrades. So essentially it's going to say, if you're wanting to have this development here, you need to, say, put extra lanes in or something. So it's going to recommend upgrades required to that road to handle it. So that's essentially what the traffic impact assessment does. It's going to generate this amount of traffic. your road can handle so much, and then you need to do upgrades to that road network. So it takes a look at intersections, the road itself. Do you need to do an extra lane through there? So that's essentially what the impact assessment deals
And
with.
would that have factored in like, is it just a current snapshot? Or would that decision be made in being mindful of the additional traffic and users that are coming to school zones, future recreational facilities, and more businesses in the business park?
So it does, depending on the scope and the terms of reference of the traffic impact assessment, it might just look at the specific development, or it might be larger and takes a look at this development as well as the rest of the business park. It all depends on how broad of a scope transportation is going to require the traffic study. So sometimes they do take in the future growth, and they take a look at, so you're expecting growth to occur on, say, 3% growth a year. So they factor in, say, 2030, your intersection at, say, Hollis and the highway is going to fail in 2030. So you'd have to factor in certain upgrades at that point. So they do take a look at some future growth through there. As to, like this, in terms of this one, I'm not a traffic engineer by any means, so don't quote me on these, but they do take a look at some future growth in the area too. So.
And do we, Councillor McDonald, when it's at the planning level stage, those discussions that I wasn't a part of, they factor in that future growth, or even the nature of the use? Like, right now, I don't know that children would be on bike or foot and be able to cross into where our soccer fields are now, right?
So you, with respect to the traffic?
Yep.
So if we might, just under 12C, there's an attachment, PH 0202025-5, DTI comments on proposed rezoning. I wonder if we could just bring that up, please. It might be a little hard to see. So you'll note, Councillor, that Mr. Ruff had emailed Mr. Matt Langell, who is a professional engineer in traffic data. And Mr. Ruff had indicated to Mr. Langell that the proposed development does include 36 townhouse units and 2 38-unit 3-story apartment buildings. So the density was before Mr. Langell in September, when he made his assessment under number 3, that we don't see the need for a traffic impact study. He says, yes, there will be an increase in traffic along Hollis Avenue from Reeves Estates when they connect McIntosh Drive, but Hollis Avenue will be more than capable of accommodating the increased traffic. Now, to your question, I think, and what Mr. Ruff said, I don't think Mr. Langell can accurately forecast anything that's before him other than the question that's before him. So when he asks, when Mr. Ruff asks, for instance, you know, we're going to add this many units to the north side of Hollis, and Mr. Langell can respond to that. But it would be outside, I think, the scope of the opinion that Mr. Langell gave him to say, well, we might have this development or that development or whatever the case may be. Does that make sense?
Well, it does
Yeah.
make sense, but the high school development is not a might. It's being built. So I would think that the movement from John Joe Sark and Hollis, that I would think that that's a factor. as well.
Perhaps, but again, I think we're fairly duty-bound here to consider the evidence of experts, and Mr. Langell is such an expert from his credentials, much more than I am, and I think much more than anybody here is in the room. So I do have to consider that, and I think respectfully, we all do.
Yes,
Yeah.
respectfully, I am a driver and a parent and a counselor and a resident, and I wear many hats. And I'm not claiming to be a traffic expert, but I know what it's like to use the roads. And in the past, when I raised concerns, Kinloch Road, intersection Sobeys, et cetera, generally, my user experiences are reflected in the reports by the RCMP, in traffic incidents, et cetera. So I guess one could think that I'm speculating, but I use the roads regularly, and I do have concerns.
I think we all do, Counselor.
Okay, any other comments, Councillor?
I just got one comment. I just
If
forgot.
if I could, Deputy Mayor, I'd like to hear from the other councillors before we...
2 seconds?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I forgot to say density is, in an R3 zone is 25 dwelling units per acre. I mean, it's not an overlay zone, it says earlier, so I did the math here, and you're up around 31, 32 units per acre. So we're over density here for the R3 zone. I just want to add that to my comments.
And what's the requirement on the R2 zone, Mr. Ruff?
So the R2 zone does not have density requirements or no limits on density, as well as the overlay zone. The overlay zone has no development standards, no density limits.
R3 has?
No.
R2 does.
The R2 zone does not,
Okay,
as well as the sustainable overlay has no density standards.
okay.
So
R3
conceivably, with the R2 zone, there could be more than 22 units per acre.
Conceivably, yes.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we're looking to try to go over R3 at
Yes.
25.
Yeah, but
We got 31 here.
the overlay zone has no limits on it,
Yeah.
on density. So,
So if we leave it as it is, there's no limits?
under the sustainable overlay zone, yes, there's no limits.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other comments, Councillor? Councillor Chandler? No?
Sorry, Steve.
Councillor Jackson?
Yeah, I think, thank you, Worship. I think I got to start clarifying when Deputy Mayor mentioned Jackson Development. That is my little brother, very proud of him. This was a development that was approved by the previous council for, I believe, 260-unit, 100% affordable buildings. So I have had zero dealings on that, just for the sake of the audience. But anyway, it's an example. I just want to clarify that. Anytime anything was brought up, I recused myself from that. But I am very happy with previous decisions of council where things have been, have occurred. So that's, I'm going to leave it at that. On this, I guess I just want to clarify with either the chair of planning or Mr. Ruff on the items we need to consider. Bylaw 45, 3.2.2, is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so with that, I guess I'll start. In April, I did vote in favor of this first reading. I've had a lot of time to think about it since then. I've reflected on the zoning and development bylaw. And I'm going to, first I'm going to just mention what I think the public needs to know is what is going to occur in that area is the road is going to go through when it's developed. It has to go through. It's a public safety matter. It would open up transit to the 160 or so homes in Reeves, which I heard door to door would have been a terrific addition to that area. And that's something that I'm looking forward to development happening for that reason through that area and for all of the folks in the area and for the campus and all those things. So that's something that is going to happen regardless of what is developed there. And I'm looking forward to that. But I have to say, in reflecting on the zoning and development bylaw, I'm going to point to 3.2.2 E, compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding land uses, including both existing and projected, as Deputy Mayor noted, surrounded by R2s. We spend a lot of time as this council enhancing density in R2s, not only as of right, but also in conditional or special permitted use. So density can occur in an R2. The sustainable overlay was a conscious decision at that time, and I think was still a good one, and it was something that convinced residents in that area to purchase homes or lease homes or rent or have condos. So that brings me, so for that reason, I think it's, I don't think it's compatible. I'm going to point at 3.2.2F, any comments from residents and other interested persons. So overwhelmingly, I heard from a lot of residents and Your Worship, I think some of the folks did talk about the balance here and Mr. Ruff did as well. ensuring development occurs, but respecting the residents, the developers, all of the folks who are involved. And overwhelmingly, I heard concerns about the environment. I've heard concerns about just the incompatibility, I guess, of that, what this rezoning might bring for that area. And I am fortunate to be one of the two councillors from Ward 3 who was elected to represent the views of our residents in that area. So I do weigh heavily the comments I've received from them. So I have 3.2.2E and F. And lastly, J, the compatibility of the proposed development with surrounding environmental, aesthetic, scenic, and heritage features, and specifically on the environmental features. I know I'm not certain right now with the various delineations and things that we've seen, whether there's any certainty as to, I think we might be premature in that way to understand what the impacts of this decision might be. I noticed a story in CBC, and I think it's fine to bring it up. PEI's Environment Department said it would have reviewed the residents' request for an environmental impact assessment of the site and said that it's the town's responsibility to deal with such planning concerns. So I think I've done that by quoting these sections in 3.2.2, E, F, and J. And for that reason, I will not be voting for this.
Great, thank you for your comments. Councillor McDonald?
Thank you, Your Worship. So certainly no doubt that there are some items in favor of the resolution and certainly some items of concern. There's no doubt of that. As my colleague, Councillor Gallant noted, Deputy Mayor Gallant, I should say, certainly it is when you, I'm not sure if we can bring it up. It's not within their agenda package, but if we could bring up the zoning map for the town. I don't know if somebody, it's on our website anyways. Sure. So when you see the zoning map, for instance, there is no doubt that this would be a form of a potential, I should say, spot intensification when you consider the R2 nature of Reeves Estates, which is to the east of that. To the west is somewhat more of a different story. Currently, it's a mishmash of different zoning, which we are looking to change in the, I think, fairly near future as our community campus comes online. It's currently the soccer complex, as some people would call it, and eventually it is a view of the town, and our goal as a town is to increase our industrial and commercial areas, and that will be the feature of that area there. Also, balancing this, I guess, is the comments of the residents who are here tonight, and some residents have been fairly consistent in their opposition to the development, but that's balanced, of course, against by some of the comments who are welcoming the development for densification reasons, as well as connecting the roads. Also, I would suggest, I'm taking into account Mr. Ruff's comments that, and I appreciate what Deputy Mayor Gallant is saying about the increase in densification. The simple reality, too, is that the R2 with sustainable subdivision overlay, I'll just say it straight up, I think it was a well-meaning idea, but when you consider the very limited uses of that zone in our current zoning map, and the frankly contradictory and confusing nature of that zoning, it can, in a very technical way, lead to unlimited densification. And so the R3 does a couple of things here. It imposes some standards in that development. It imposes a view of the future of this area of the town. I'm very mindful of the future industrial and commercial area that's going to happen to the west of this potential R3 zone. And I'm very, very mindful, and my number one consideration is the fact that we are partnering as best we can with the province to build a high school, as well as a junior high school, as well as recreational facilities.
And I can't think of any better place to allow for hopefully more affordable and a more denser form of development to allow families closer access to these types of facilities. And that is my number one consideration when I'm considering what we're looking at here. Also in consideration and in favor, as far as I'm concerned, is the objective expert evidence of traffic engineers who suggest that traffic is not a concern, despite what people might think. Also, I am considering the fact that this would be a form of infilling, and which is a desirable goal of planning. It is for all those reasons that I'm going to vote in favor of this. And I think it's always important to remember when we're talking about rezoning to not put the cart before the horse and to not consider the fact that this rezoning will not in any way, shape, or form remove from our ability the ability to carefully monitor this development in every way, shape, and form. Apartments are not as of right in R3. If they want to build apartments, we have the final say as to what it looks like, what the mitigation features are, in full collaboration with the residents in that area. It's for all those reasons that I'm going to be voting in favor of this.
Thank you, Councillor. Okay, I just have a couple of comments. First of all, I think that with regard to traffic and parking, Councillor McDonald is absolutely correct that it is the purview of the provincial government to determine that. With regard to parking, I think that we've already established that each residential unit needs 2 parking spaces. That's our standard. With regard to environmental assessment, whether or not one is required, my understanding is that that's a provincial responsibility, even though they say that it's not. It is within their purview to delineate the wetlands and determine whether or not an environmental assessment is required, and there's precedent for this. With regard to stormwater management, again, this is a provincial responsibility. With regard to R2, number of units being unlimited, basically, and the fact that R3 does have some caps on the number of units, as well as Councillor McDonald pointed out, that the town still will retain the right to make sure that good planning principles are followed, and the fact that housing units are badly needed, and exactly this type of housing unit is badly needed. I think that we really need to look really at the precedents that have been set at IRAC. I was previously involved in a case that involved a rezoning application that was turned down by council. It ended up costing the town a lot of money, and we lost. And it was because of stormwater concerns, traffic concerns. And in the view of IRAC, as Councillor McDonald mentioned, this is a purview of the experts, of traffic engineers and of civil engineers with regard to stormwater management. And I think that it's important to remember the principle of respect here. It's not only respect for our residents, we do have respect and a great deal of respect, and I think you heard that tonight, that all councillors really respect the views of residents. But we're also obligated to follow our zoning and development bylaw, which, and the advice of planning experts in order to make a decision. So I think that we really need to carefully consider if this is appealed, what the likelihood is of success, either by, if we decide to approve it on the part of residents, and if we decide to turn it down on the excuse me, on the part of the property owner. So for all those reasons, I think we need to really carefully consider our vote here tonight, that we really need to have good reasoning behind everything that we decide, because this could cost the town a lot of money. It could end up being something that is really not in the best interest of the town if we take the wrong decision here. You know, I think Councillor Mr. Ruff, if you have any idea of what could be built there with regard to the current zoning, do you have any any concept of what type of development could take place in the areas that are across the road or whatever from the area that, in question, the delineated wetland areas?
So in terms of what could be developed, you'd have to take a look at the two zones, the overlay zone and the underlying R2 zone. So the R2 zone allows combinations of singles, semis, townhouses up to 6 or stacks up to 12. The overlay zone allows a little more. The overlay zone actually allows for an apartment to go in there, or multi-unit dwelling to go in.
In R2?
In the overlay zone.
Yeah, in R2?
So the way the overlay zones go is they actually supersede. If you have an overlay zone on your property, it supersedes anything in your base zone. So an R2 is base zone. The overlay zone supersedes anything in that zone. So typically it adds additional uses in, Sometimes an overlay zone would have additional development standards or additional studies required. With our overlay zone, it's got specific criteria for the sustainable side. So you need to do building orientation. There's a whole section in the bylaw that outlines what you have to do. So like in the buildings themselves, you have to do low flow toilets, like solar panels, environmental, like tree retention and so forth. So that overrides anything in the base zone. So in theory, you could do apartments or multi-unit dwellings under the overlay zone through the special permit process.
Okay, so I guess before we vote, I just want to get one more bit of information, and that is with regard to the current dwellings on John Knox Way. In theory, would it be reasonable to suggest within that piece of property adjacent to where there are currently two, I think they're 3-story apartment buildings, that there could be as many as 6 put in on that unit, on that piece of property?
So our long-range planner did do a preliminary design. In theory, we could get 8 sets of 10, so about 8 units in there. So 5 unit wide, 2 high formation in a stack. So about 80 units within there with an internal road network on that same property.
And aesthetically, would that be preferable to just an apartment building, or would it be comparable?
From a preliminary planning point of view, I think it'd be like it's pretty much the buildings are nose to tail. Essentially, it's building road, and that's about it. Like in terms of grass, open space, it was very tight development through there.
Apartment building would leave more open space and more natural area.
Yes, yeah. So while I know there is consideration of proposing additional development in there, so what may be viewed as the best development for a neighbor's property, the province has actually dictated it can't be a standard against which a planning related decision is made by a municipality. Essentially, the province has said such an approach would have the effect of frustrating development, maintaining the status quo, and diminishing the rights associated with land ownership. So essentially, just because we think, say a neighbor thinks it should be a pink house, that's not necessarily a valid planning related reason for turning it down. So the province has considered it in the past. So.
Okay, any other comments or questions before we vote? Go ahead, Councillor Jackson.
And it's with all due respect, Your Worship, I know, we've been challenged to think about this long and hard, and I'm speaking for myself, I have done that. I have listened to the items that I've heard from all sides. I've clarified with our experts, our staff, on what parameters we are to consider. And I've done that, and I'm quite confident, and I'm not worried that I've made a good case for my vote. I've been very clear about that, so I feel confident in that, and we can, appeals can happen on any decision we make. So with all due respect, I understand that, and took that into account when I made my,
Yeah, and please
Points.
understand that I'm not, I'm
No,
not
no.
worried about the appeal process.
No, no.
What I want is the best interest of the town and
Yep.
the best interests of the residents in the area.
absolutely, and I've done that.
For the best development possible, for their quality of life, and for their, and for the people that need housing. Okay. Okay, with that, if there are no more other sorry.
I'm satisfied too with all my points of view there, and I know it's just going from R2 to 3, and it's currently in R2, and you spoke about IRAC. I'm not going to have IRAC, I'm not worried about IRAC, I wasn't worried about anybody behind me in my day, or police days, or hockey days, or some of you on my shoulder, and I'm not going to worry about IRAC. I'll make it a confirmed decision here. Confirmed decision. I'm not going to worry about, and the residents can appeal it.
Well,
You know,
please
the residents
understand my
can appeal.
point. I was worried about the fact that
Or
we need,
you're-
whatever we do has to be supported by
Oh, I know.
evidence and by
But,
our policies and bylaws. So
but,
that's all my only concern.
No, but the residents can appeal it, and or the contractors, we vote against the contractors can appeal it.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, I'm not going to be worried about anybody,
Well-
but I'm here to do a job as a counselor. I'm going to make my own decision, and if it's 3-1,
Basically, I guess what I'm interested in is the best interest of the town, and there's two things that can happen. It can be appealed, or else development can take place within the current zoning requirements, which may or may not be in the best interests of the quality of life of the local residents and of the town.
Yeah.
So that's because there's no cap on number of units, and I know that we're able to, put conditions and that sort of thing on it, but there is much more freedom under the R2 to put in something that may not meet with the needs of the town and of the local residents.
I don't think R3 is
Okay.
going to, I don't think R3 is going to meet with the residents. So, I'm just.
R3 has a cap. It has a number of units.
Okay.
Like
cap on it.
Yeah, but
Okay.
anyway, it can be sold afterwards to a new developer, so that's another thing. Anyways.
Okay, if there are no other comments or questions,
We have no control. Anyways.
I'll call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion defeated. Okay, we'll move on to the next resolution. Councillor McDonald?
Well, I don't think we won't deal with 12D because that's the adoption. So that, I think procedurally fails automatically with the second reading.
Okay.
So 12E is, I'll bring it up here, sorry. Town of Stratford Resolution, this is number PH 0142025, SD 009-25, R&D Builders, Forest Trails Phase 4, PID 289512, a 7-lot preliminary subdivision approval. It reads as follows. Whereas an application has been received from R&D Builders to revise the 4th phase of the Forest Trail subdivision, located on parcel numbers 289512, approximately 11.3 acres in total area, located at the end of Hollis Avenue, into 9 lots within the medium-density R2 zone with a sustainable subdivision overlay zone. And whereas the purpose of this subdivision application is to facilitate the creation of 5 lots for residential development, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 10, 2 lots for green space, lots 0-6 and 0-7, the Hollis Road extension, R5, and a small remnant lot, lot 24A1. And whereas each of these proposed lots meets the minimum lot standards for the future residential developments consisting of stacked townhouses and multi-unit dwellings, and whereas correspondence was received from the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure in December 2024 regarding extension of Hollis Avenue, which stated they do not see the need for a traffic study to be conducted for this proposed road extension and future development. Whereas a standard watercourse and wetland delineation report from Fundy Engineering was submitted to the town and the Department of Environment, Energy, and Climate Action from R&D Builders outlining revised boundaries of the wetland on the subject lands in early January 2025. Whereas correspondence was received from the Department of Environment, Energy, and Climate Action in late January 2025, agreeing to work with R&D Builders in the determination of the final boundaries of the wetland and determine if compensation would be required. Whereas a preliminary storm drainage plan completed by SCL Engineering was submitted by R&D Builders to the town in March 2025 that showed that the property can be graded properly to direct water away from neighboring properties and toward Hollis Avenue. Be it resolved that preliminary subdivision approval be granted to an application, SD 004-24, from R&D Builders to revise the 4th phase of the Forest Trail subdivision, located on parcel number 289512, which is approximately 11.3 acres in total area, into 7 lots, in accordance with the following conditions. 1, conformance with the overall site plan prepared by Manthan Land Surveys Incorporated, file number 24J3, drawing number M24-46, dated February 13th, 2024. That Lot 1 and parcel 24-A1, shown on the survey plan identified in condition 1, be amalgamated with parcel 0-7. 3, that the applicant work with the Department of Environment, Energy, and Climate Action to determine the final location of the wetland boundary on lots 2, 3, and 4. 4, that a stormwater management plan be designed by a licensed engineer using low-impact development guidelines to be approved by both the Department of Transportation and the town. 5, that an overall grading plan be designed by a licensed engineer to set the finished floor and pad elevations for each of the lots in coordination with and including the proposed paths of drainage for each lot to be approved by the town. 6, that an erosion and sedimentation control plan be designed by a licensed engineer using the town's erosion and sedimentation control guidelines to be approved by both DTI and the town. 7, that the extension of Hollis Avenue shall be designed in accordance with the provincial road standards of DTI and that a subdivision road agreement shall be executed. 8, that the sewer and water systems shall be designed in accordance with the Stratford Utility Corporation servicing standards, and that a utility agreement shall be executed along with the payment of all applicable capital contribution fees required by the Stratford Utility Corporation. 9, that the developer shall enter into a subdivision agreement with the town to be registered to the property at the cost of the developer. 10, that developer makes an agreement with Canada Post to meet Canada Post's requirements for establishing community mailboxes in new subdivisions. 11, that all other relevant provisions of the town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45 are met. 12, that preliminary approval shall be valid for a period of 3 years from the date of council's approval on June 11th, 2025. This resolution bears a recommendation of Planning Development and Heritage Committee as discussed at the meeting held on June 2nd, 2025, and is moved by myself as chair of that committee.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Thank you, Councillor Jackson. Okay, discussion. Comments? Do you want to start us off?
Sure, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Councillor Jackson had.
Yeah, I was just going to turn the floor over to Mr. Ruff. I just had some questions for him, and before I offer my thoughts, I suppose, on it. So, Mr. Ruff, you're there. So, with respect to this one, I'm wondering if we could bring up, I think the most salient thing that's before us under 12E is number 5, PH 0142025-5. This is the wetland delineation map. I wonder if we could zoom in a little bit there to make it a little bigger on the screen. There. So now, what I understand, Mr. Ruff, is that Lot 1 from both Fundy Engineering and Environmental, Energy, and Climate Action is found to be clearly within a wetland.
Yes.
So there's going to be, the proposal before us is an amalgamation of Lot 1 with which lot?
So Lot 1, the province is essentially dictated in conjunction with R&D that you can't develop on Lot 1. It's fully within in the wetland area, both in Fundy's delineation as well as the provincial initial one. So both parties have agreed Lot 1 is out the picture. Lots 2, 3, and 4, the department has stated they're willing to work with the developer and the landowner on development of those lands. So.
Okay. Now, part of this proposed subdivision is to provide a zone, or I guess a lot, so to speak, for the extension of the roadway.
Yes.
And part of that is within the delineated wetland zone, both from the province as well as Fundy Engineering. Has there been any discussions with the province about what that might mean in terms of whether it's compensation or whether it's abatement or whether it's mitigation?
Not at this point. The province hasn't given us any indication. They're working through with R&D with regards to if compensation is required, if there's upgrades required to a wetland someplace else. They're still working with developers on that.
Okay, and then I understand Lot 4, from what I understand from the comments from environmental, I'm just going to call them EECA staff. They don't necessarily have any concerns with Lot 4, but it's Lots 2 and 3 that they might have some concerns with?
Yes, that is correct, yeah.
Okay, and so if this subdivision goes through, what is the best way that the town can put adequate environmental controls on these, such that if there's any remediation work that needs to be done or anything like that, are we covered under the wording of the resolution as it exists?
So, yeah, the resolution does have a condition in there that the developer has to work with environment on the wetland delineation, and the boundaries of the lots may be dictated as to where they go. So lot 2, there might be readjusted at the back end, so it's fully outside. Or there might be requirements on the buffer zone permit that's required. So anytime you develop within, I believe it's 15 meters of a wetland or a water course, you have to get a buffer zone permit from the province. So at that point, they would dictate specific development standards, what's required at that point. So the developer would have to work with environment on it. We had a similar case with another subdivision where there was a wetland determined on the site, and essentially the developer had to remove one of their units that they're proposing and relocate it because of a wetland that showed up on site. So what we're requiring in the condition is that the developer work with environment on the boundaries of lots 2, 3, 4. So lot 1 is out. Lots 2, 3, and 4 adjusted as required. So this is only preliminary approval, it's not final. So.
Okay. And so when we say preliminary approval,
Yeah.
that means who has the final say?
So the preliminary one, you'd have to meet the conditions. So in theory, you could say preliminary approval on 7 lots. They might come through and say, hey, we can only do 6 at the end of the day because of the wetland through there. So, you have anything on that? I'll let Dale.
Thank you, Phil. Yeah, regarding to who had the final approval, it would depend on what comments come back from environment or any form of government agency in that, and that would help us to make our decision at the end of the day, so to support our decision or whether to approve or to deny. So ultimately, they're going to rely on the environmental review of this to get the comments back to know where we stand as far as the viability of certain lots, whether they can be developed on. If they can't be, obviously, it's something that we can't approve and move on that kind of basis.
Okay, and then, so I understand everything north of the road lot, so to speak, is understood to not be within anybody's notion of a wetland. Would that be fair to say?
That's correct.
Yeah. And just to remind me, there's essentially 3 colored areas on this map. There's the Fundy engineering area, there's the wetland inventory area, and then there's a light blue area to the west. Yes, just remind me what that is.
You know what that is, Phil?
Yeah, I know what that is.
Yeah.
So that is actually the drainage corridor. So just
Okay.
off the highway, on the south side of the highway is a big culvert. So all the stormwater comes down the highway, crosses under the highway, runs north along that light blue area, and then it goes all the way up to Hollis and then into the areas north of Balderson. So.
Okay, thank you. All right. Those are all my questions. I don't know if anybody else has questions for our planning staff here.
Okay, questions? Okay, Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, if I may, for Mr. Ruff or Mr. McKeegan, just on, so this, what impact does this have on Lot 10, as far as being the area that Councillor McDonald noted was, well noted to not be in the wetland zone? Is this just noted on our map, or is this part and parcel, sorry, part of the pond, but is Lot 10 impacted? Is Lot 10 one of the 7 lots that we're dividing here?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
So Lot 10 is essentially on the north side of the road.
Yeah.
So
just, I guess for my comments, I would like to see a obviously all the due diligence done on the environmental side on the other lots, and we'll obviously respect the experts on that. But on Lot 10, this is where I would like to see development to the extent possible within the zoning to provide housing and to encourage and work with the developer to develop this area, the Lot 10, which is clearly not in an area where there's concern at this time. So I guess I'm not sure what I'm saying. That one is clearly easy for us to understand that is not a problem parcel there. So, you know, the others obviously may be. Is it? It's an all or nothing thing, isn't it?
Any other comments, or you, is there anything else, Councillor
No, that
Jackson?
was it, Your Worship.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
Just on that point, I'm just going to, I'll ask our CAO. Is it an all or nothing proposition? Can council propose friendly amendments or amendments to this?
You can propose a simple amendment, but I think if you're going to change actually the lot configuration, or it might be more than that, and could take us outside the realm of the MGA, so.
I figured that, but I just wanted to check. Thank you.
Okay, other comments or questions? I believe Deputy Mayor Gallant, you had a question or comment?
No, just looking at, you're looking at lots 1 to 5 there, Jeff? Is that
Well-
one?
Okay, I think it's best to probably bring up this preliminary survey plan. There's quite a few lots, actually.
10.
In different configurations, so I can take you through them, Councillor, or certainly Mr. Ruff can too.
So lot 10 and parcel 06, so it's O's, which is open space. So the original design for lot 10 and 06, as well as the road, this follows very closely with the original design for the forest trails for phase 4. So it's not new. Lots 2, 3, and 4 are slight adjustments to the original design. I believe they were actually not as deep and a little closer to the cul-de-sac. Lot 4 is a brand new one which the developer had proposed initially. And then there's actually a very remnant parcel, 24-A1. It's just like super small. It's just a misalignment of the road and the property lines because the neighbor to the south doesn't line up with everybody else. So 24-A1 is just a remnant that we're going to include in with the open space, the wetland area. That's essentially wetland itself too. So the overall subdivision layout follows very closely with the original design for forest trails that was originally drafted in 2013. So lot 10 and 06 on the top, and the road, like pretty much the same as what was originally proposed 10 years ago. Lots 2, 3, and 4 were bumped up a little bit because of the intended development. So.
Thank you. Councillor Jackson.
Yeah, if I may, so theoretically approving the rezoning as presented would allow development in those areas where it is not a concern, but reserving for later, you know, the environmental, the work with the province on the others. I guess they would make that determination at some point on 2, 3, and 4. Am I?
Councillor, I think this is a subdivision approval, preliminary approval.
Yep.
It's not rezoning.
No, I said it, no, so if it was to be, sorry, I may have misspoke, but if it was to be subdivided
Okay,
the way, subdivided as presented,
Okay.
Theoretically, lot 10, parcel 06 being the open space, and the road could be developed while still waiting for further guidance on 2, 3, and 4. Is that correct, Mr. Ruff?
In theory, yes. So we can't actually issue development permits on new parcels until the road has been built and handed over to the province. So it's probably going to be a while before any development can occur on lot 10, because the road would have to be constructed, and then turned over to the province. So
Yeah, which would always have to happen first
Yes.
anyway. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rowe.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, call for the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those against? Motion carried. Okay, you have another resolution, Councillor McDonald?
I think I do. Let me see here. 12F, yes. Resolution PH 022-2025, VA 001-25, from Sean Cody at 10 Leadwell Lane, PID 329649. Variance request to side and rear yard setbacks. Reads as follows. Whereas an application has been received from Sean Cody for variances to side and rear yard setbacks for a proposed addition having a drawing number of DP 019-25 being a two-vehicle garage to the existing dwelling at 10 Leadwell Lane on PID 329649 within the low-density residential large lot R1L zone. And whereas the required minimum side yard setback is 12 feet and the variance request is to reduce the setback by 4 feet to allow for an 8-foot setback, or 33.33%, and the required minimum rear yard setback is 25 feet, and the variance request is to reduce the setback by 8 feet to allow a 17-foot setback, or 32%, both of which are major variances. Whereas the existing lot is legal non-conforming lots, being substandard size, and the existing dwelling is a legal non-conforming dwelling, being a substandard front yard setback. Whereas pursuant to subsection 6.1.2 of the Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, variance applications shall demonstrate one of several tests for justifying a variance approval. This application has been considered against the following tests. A, the lot in question has peculiar conditions, including small lot size, irregular lot shape, or exceptional topographical conditions, which make it impractical to develop in strict conformity with bylaw standards. B, strict application of all bylaw standards would impose undue hardship on the applicant by excluding the applicant from the same rights and privileges for reasonable use of his or her lot as enjoyed by other persons in the same zone. And C, the variance is consistent with the intent and purpose of the official plan. Whereas, pursuant to section 8.12.1 sub D, council may grant a variance to the rear yard, front yard, or side yard setback requirements to an extent that is reasonable and feasible and does not compromise the safety, convenience, of the character of the neighborhood, and may issue a permit on a non-conforming lot. Whereas on April the 17th, 2025, in accordance with section 6.1.6, where a variance in excess of 10% is being requested, 15 notification letters were sent to property owners who own parcels of lands which are located in whole or in part within 61 meters or 200 feet from any lot line of the parcel being proposed for the variance. 2 response letters were received before the comment deadline on May 2nd, 2025. And be it resolved that approval be granted to an application from Sean Cody for variances to side yard and rear yard setbacks for a proposed addition to the existing dwelling at 10 Leadwell Lane on PID 329649 within the low-density residential large lot zone, subject to the following conditions. 1, the minimum side yard setback for the proposed addition shown in DPI 01925 is granted a variance of 33.33% and must be a minimum of 8 feet. 2, the minimum rear yard setback for the proposed addition shown in DP 019-25 is granted a variance of 32% and must be a minimum of 17 feet. 3, that the proposed addition shown on DP 019-25 must comply with all of the relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution does not bear the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on June 2nd and an email poll conducted between June 4th and 6th, 2025. It is moved by myself as chair of that committee, though.
Seconder? Do I have a seconder? Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor Gallant.
Yep.
Okay, discussion.
So Mr. Ruff's still there, and I think the best thing to do here is to show a preliminary survey plan showing just exactly where the proposed addition might fall within the lot.
System slow tonight.
And then you want page 2.
All right, so that's the proposed addition, what it will look like, but I think the best way to look at it is the overhead view. Okay, so I understand, Mr. Ruff, looking at this diagram, that the proposed addition is 8 feet 1 inch from the side yard. And I can't quite tell what it would be from the rear setback.
Yeah.
But-
So, just to clarify, sorry to interrupt.
Sure,
Just
yeah,
when
please.
when the applicant came in originally, it was just a side yard. When we were doing a review, we found out that he needed variance on the backside too. So the backside is 17 feet, whereas required minimum is 25.
25. And the side is what again, Mr. Ruff?
Being an R1 zone, it's 12 feet on the sides.
Okay. And so I understand with respect to this particular lot, there's some unusual features as it relates to this R1L lot.
Yes, so this is actually a substandard lot to begin with. And the building itself is actually a legal non-conforming building. So the building itself was built in 2017, and at the time it was granted variances on its front yard setback. What was actually built was actually closer than what was permitted, but regulations has since changed. So under the current zoning, it's deemed legal non-conforming. And so the lot itself is substandard. It's about 12,000 square feet with minimums of 15,000. But in this case, the minimum lot size doesn't play a factor into these variances, which is one of the considerations or tests which are typically met or need to be considered against. There isn't any topographical issues with it. It is on a gentle slope, but it's not necessarily impacting the side rear yard setbacks. And yeah, so out of the various tests, this doesn't necessarily meet adequately any of the 3 tests on there, so.
Okay. And I understand that we did receive some responses from adjacent landowners,
Yes.
and one in favor and one opposed, so to speak?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
one had some concerns with it, and more so somewhat tied into how it's going to impact development of their property as well as sightline views from adjacent properties, which a zone bylaw in this neighborhood does not have sightline protection guidelines. There's actually only one neighborhood in town that does, and that's up by the waterfront. But there isn't any requirements in this zone. So.
Okay. And I do understand that after planning committee met on June 2nd, the applicant did provide some additional information to the planning committee. And I understand in very broad strokes, explained some fairly compelling reasons as to them moving back to this home that they're residing in now, as well as some of the reasons that they're looking to expand their home due to their family situation, and also some overtures, I guess I would describe it, to move one of the sheds that's located on the property now away from there, which would actually, in operation, practically actually increase the setback that might exist on that property now, on the side yard at least. And from what I understand, from considering a planning perspective, that did not change the decision of the planning committee. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, yeah, that is correct. The additional information was sent out. It was received after planning committee. When it was sent out to the planning committee members and in an email poll, and none of the committee members said, hey, it's drastically going to change recommendations.
Okay. Thank you. Those are my questions. Appreciate it.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, I just had one thing I wanted to raise, and I guess I'll ask Mr. Ruff that. So from the planning department's perspective, if this were to be approved, is a precedent that it would set, is that of any concern to the planning department?
No. With variances, it's on a case-by-case basis. There isn't any precedent set. Because each site has specific criteria you look at. We don't anticipate a standard being set. It's on a case-by-case basis. So because
So
each
maybe,
lot is different, so.
maybe the question then is from you know, counselor's perspective that weren't at the planning committee, can you briefly elucidate what the reason was for the non-recommendation by the planning committee?
Yeah. So, so we took a look at the 3 tests.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, one deal with lot size. Is there any unusual, like smaller lot size, topographical issues, which make it impractical to develop in strict conformity? So other than a substandard lot size, there isn't anything unusual about this property that would make it difficult to meet the setbacks. The second one deals with, it imposes an undue hardship on the applicant by excluding them from the same rates as what occurs in the area. So essentially this is a large addition going in, and it doesn't necessarily exempt them from doing development on the property. Like they could, it's a big addition, if a smaller addition would fit on there, no problem, within the setback. So essentially this is a 2-car garage, a single car one with say a detached second bay would be possible on the property. There is a section in there that may be applicable, and from a planning point of view it says no variances shall be granted where the difficulty experienced is the result of intentional or neglect conduct of the applicant in relation to the property. So essentially an oversized addition could be seen as an intentional, this is the design of the building and I can't meet my setback, so I need a variance. So that section is actually fairly clear on that. So in theory, you could do an addition on both sides of the house, so an extension one way and an extension the other, and still meet your setbacks. So.
Yeah, and I understood from my attendance at planning board that you know, we have a principle here. We try to get to yes and try to you know, help the homeowner reach their objectives with regard to this sort of thing. And I understood that there was to be some discussion with the homeowner to see if there's any kind of solution that could enable the person to meet the requirements and still, you know, get the end result that they were looking for?
Yes, yeah. So we did, after the meeting, reach out to the homeowner or the applicant and said, hey, this is the recommendation going forwards. Do they want to pull their application at this point and revisit? They decided to no, let's go ahead and go through the process, and then we'll revisit it after the fact.
Okay.
So you can do different design elements, do a detached
Sure.
garage on site. So.
Okay.
Instead of, we're looking at denying this tonight, I guess, on a recommendation of planning board, right?
Yes.
Defer it and try to get the,
Well, my understanding is that the homeowner's looking for a decision so they can basically start over. Is that correct?
I think and I think it's a very fair suggestion, Deputy, but as Mr. Mayor did indicate, I think they are looking for, I think that the overture was made to them to perhaps withdraw at this point in time, reconsider, go back to the drawing board, so to speak, and I think they do want a decision from council.
okay,
Yeah.
we're looking at say no and then come back to drawing board, right?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to prejudge how the vote goes, but
No.
yeah, that's I mean, I think they want a decision one way or another.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, any other comments or questions before we vote? I'll call the question. All those in favor? All those against? Motion defeated. Okay, we'll now move on. You're earning your money tonight, Councilor McDonald.
I always do, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I always do. 12G, okay, so just for everyone's information, 12G, H, I, J, and J, they're separate resolutions, Mr. Mayor, but
Yep.
they're all really considering the same development. So what I'm going to propose to do is, I know for our purposes, I have to read in the resolutions, and we have to move and second those separately. But what I would propose is that I read in the 4 resolutions, or Or maybe I'll just, here's what we'll do. I think this makes most sense. I'll read in the first resolution being 12G. We can have an open discussion on all of those items, 12G, H, I, J, and then depending upon how all that goes, I'll ask you to call for the questions on the separate resolutions.
Sure.
Yeah?
Fine with
Okay.
me. Is that under Robert's rules, is that okay?
Rather than having 4 separate discussions.
Liked your idea of reading all 4 resolutions and then one
Oh,
discussion.
I think I have
Yeah.
to read all 4
Yeah.
resolutions for
Okay,
sure.
as long as you
Yeah.
do that, it's fine.
Yeah,
And we can have one discussion about all 4 of them,
yeah.
and then 4 separate votes.
Okay, so there's nothing wrong, just so I'm clear, with reading, moving, seconding, and then going to the next one, moving, seconding. Okay, great, perfect. All right, so I'll begin with 12G, which is Resolution PH 023-2025, Concord Properties Limited, McKinnon Drive, PID 328039, a building height exemption. Whereas an application has been received from Concord Properties Limited for a building height exemption in relation to the future development of 2 multiple attached dwelling, apartment or condominium buildings to be located on a portion of PID 328039 on McKinnon Drive within the core mixed-use zone. Whereas the purpose of the application is to accommodate a low-slope pitched roof, which is more consistent with the character of the existing adjacent neighborhood, with a solar study being completed to show minimal to no impact on existing development properties. Whereas pursuant to subsection 8.8.2 of the zoning development bylaw number 45, building height exemption application shall demonstrate a number of requirements. This application has been considered against the following requirements. A, provision is made for unobstructed access around the building exterior year-round for emergency services access. B, the building contains a sprinkler system with adequate fire-rated central water pressure or an internal standpipe system with adequate water capacity and pressure. C, approval is obtained from the Crossroads Rural Community Fire Company. And D, building design components such as building material, scale, and form are consistent with surrounding development and will not negatively impact the character of surrounding neighborhood. Whereas approval has been obtained from the Crossroads Rural Community Fire Company, be it resolved that approval be granted to an application received from Concord Properties Limited for a building height exemption in relation to the future development of a portion of PID 328039 on McKinnon Drive, subject to the following. 1, conformance including non-substantive changes with the conceptual plans McKinnon Drive multi-res prepared by Spitfire Design Company, flight number 4610, dated May 8, 2025. 2, that provision is made for unobstructed access around the building exterior year-round for emergency services access. 3, that the building contains a sprinkler system with adequate fire-rated central water pressure or an internal standpipe system with adequate water capacity and pressure. 4, that all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution does bear the recommendation of Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on June 2nd, 2025, and is moved by myself as chair.
Seconder? Thank you. Councillor Jackson?
Okay, I'll read the next resolution, which is 12H. This is Resolution PH 024-2025, VA 004-25, from Concord Properties Limited and McKinnon Drive, PID 328039, replace a flat roof with 30% soft landscaping with a low-pitched hip roof. Whereas an application has been received from Concord Properties Limited for a variance to replace a flat roof with 30% soft landscaping with a low-pitched hip roof in relation to the future development of 2 multiple attached dwellings to be located in a portion of PID 328039 McKinnon Drive within the core mixed-use zone. Whereas pursuant to subsection 6.1.2 of the zoning and development bylaw number 45, variance application shall demonstrate one of a number of tests for justifying a variance approval. This application has been considered against the following test. C, the variance is consistent with the intent and purpose of the official plan. Whereas on May 12, 2025, in accordance with subsection 6.1.6, where variance in excess of 10% is being requested, 34 notification letters were sent to property owners who own parcels of lands which are located in whole or in part within 61 meters or 200 feet from any lot line of the parcel being proposed for the variance. No response letters were received before the comment deadline on May 28, 2025. Be it resolved that approval be granted to an application from Concord Properties for a variance to replace a flat roof with 30% soft landscaping with a low-pitched hip roof in relation to the future development of a portion of PID 328039 on McKinnon Drive, subject to the following conditions. 1, conformance excluding non-substantive changes with the conceptual plans McKinnon Drive multi-res prepared by Spitfire Design Co., flight number 4610, dated May 8, 2025. And 2, that all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution bears the recommendation of Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held June 2nd, 2025, moved by myself as chair of that committee.
Okay, seconder? Thank you.
12H, which is resolution PH 024-2025, Concord Properties Limited. Oh, no, sorry, I just read that one. My mistake. Next one is 12I. This is resolution PH 2025, VA 005-25, Concord Properties Limited, McKinnon Drive, PID 328039, variance to replace the street wall and street wall step back with a building articulation. Whereas an application has been received from Concord Properties Limited for a variance to replace the street wall and street wall step back with building articulation in relation to the future development of 2 multiple attached dwellings to be located in a portion of PID 328039 on McKinnon Drive within the core mixed use zone. Whereas pursuant to subsection 6.1.2 of the zoning and development bylaw number 45, variance application shall demonstrate one of a number of tests for justifying a variance approval. This application has been considered against the following test. C, the variance is consistent with the intent and purpose of the official plan. And whereas on May 12, 2025, in accordance with subsection 6.1.6, where variance in excess of 10% is being requested, 34 notification letters were sent to property owners who own parcels of lands which are located in whole or in part within 61 meters or 200 feet from any lot line of the parcel being proposed for the variance. No response letters were received before the comment deadline on May 28, 2025. Be it resolved that approval be granted to an application from Concord Properties Limited for a variance to replace the street wall and street wall step back with building articulation in relation to the future development of a portion of PID 328039 on McKinnon Drive, subject to the following conditions. 1, conformance, excluding non-substantive changes with the conceptual plans, McKinnon Drive multi-res, prepared by Spitfire Design Co., flight number 4610, dated May 8, 2025. And 2, that all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on June 2nd, 2025. And is moved by myself as chair of that.
Okay, seconder? Do I have a seconder?
Okay.
We're
And,
putting you to work, Councillor Jackson.
yeah, Councillor Jackson.
He's earning his money tonight. So are you,
12J,
Councillor
yeah.
McDowell.
PH 026, this is 12J-2025, VA 006-25, Concord Properties Limited, McKinnon Drive, PID 328039, underground parking exemption. Whereas an application has been received from Concord Properties Limited for a variance to subsection 12.4.11, requiring 50% of the parking be located underground in relation to the future development of 2 multiple attached dwellings to be located on a portion of PID 328039 on McKinnon Drive within the core mixed use zone. And whereas the additional height to accommodate a traditional roof design triggers the underground parking requirement rather than additional units, therefore no additional parking spaces are required due to the increase in height. Whereas pursuant to subsection 6.1.2 of the zoning development bylaw number 45, variance applications shall demonstrate one of a number of tests for justifying a variance approval. This application has been considered against the following test. C, the variance is consistent with the intent and purpose of the official plan. Whereas on May 12, 2025, in accordance with subsection 6.1.6, where variance in excess of 10% is being requested, 34 notification letters were sent to property owners who own parcels of lands which are located in whole or in part within 61 meters or 200 feet from any lot line of the parcel being proposed for the variance. 1 response letter was received before the comment deadline on May 28th. Be it resolved that approval be granted to an application from Concord Properties Limited for a variance to subsection 12.4.11 in relation to the future development of a portion of PID 328039 on McKinnon Drive, subject to the following conditions. 1, conformance, excluding non-substantive changes with the conceptual plans McKinnon Drive multi-res, prepared by Spitfire Design Co., flight number 4610, dated May 8, 2025. 2, that adequate screening shall be provided along the rear lot line abutting the R2 zone in accordance with the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45. 3, that wheel stops shall be provided to prevent vehicles from encroaching onto the sidewalk. 4, that all other relevant provisions of the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45 are met. This resolution bears the recommendation of the Planning and Heritage Committee as discussed at a meeting held on June 2nd, 2025. Moved by myself as chair of that committee.
Seconder? Oh, thank you. Councillor Chandler got her hand up there. She beat
Almost
your
went
streak,
4 for
Councillor
4,
Jackson. Okay, so we've got 4
resolutions.
resolutions. Discussion.
Ms. Kennedy is here from our planning department. She has been deeply involved in this proposal proposed development and all the proposed resolutions before us tonight for the variations. So I'm going to get her to provide us
Okay.
potentially, first of all, with how we got here in terms of what zone this is in, and what's the nature of the variations, and if there's a motivation behind all of the variation requests.
Okay, so first off, this development is proposed to be located in the CMU zone. It will be the first building going into the CMU zone. So Wendy, I might get you to open the property map just to introduce everybody to where we are. So the area that's proposed for the development is outlined in the yellow dashed line. The red line is the entire parcel. So we're just kind of in between McKinnon, which is this part of the CMU zone. Marion Drive is the abutting R2 zone. And then Pearly Drive was the new road that just connected to the roundabout on McKinnon Drive. And Wendy, I might get you to go to the site plan as well. So that would be, yeah. And just the second page, if you could. So that shows the conceptual site plan for the building. And so I guess the nature of the variances is partially that some of these kind of built form requirements that were built into these this zone, it does put financial constraints on the developer that would deter the project entirely. And so some of the variances, like the green roof and the underground parking, will reduce the cost significantly. If I look to the first variance, which is the building height exemption, I guess it's not a variance, it is a building height exemption. Looking at the kind of points in the bylaw, we have kind of done those first items where it's basically ensuring safety in terms of fire egress and the sprinklered requirement. And then the last one is really where we get into kind of the nitty-gritty of the application, which is that it's consistent with the building material form and scale of the existing surrounding development. And so if we look at kind of what's the most impacted properties here, we're looking at the R2 zone that's right below the development. And so kind of across the street and beside it, it's not really developed, and we do have the self-storage buildings on the other side. So in terms of this specific area being kind of on the outskirts of the core, the existing core area plan, which is Appendix A or B of the official plan, it does speak to kind of maintaining the character of the neighborhood below. And so that kind of sparked the sloped roof request. And so it is consistent with parts of the official plan that speaks to having the same character, which adding the sloped roof would kind of make it more consistent with the traditional development. And I was going to say something else, but I lost my track of mind, sorry. Yeah, so that's kind of what we're looking at for the height request, is to kind of match that character of the existing development below. So I don't know if you want to, did you want to do this, or do you want me to go through the rest of the variances as well?
You know what, while you're up there, I mean, the idea is to kind of discuss them all at the same time. I mean, there's some certain harmony between some of these in terms of the hip roof and the height and stuff like that. So you may as well get our money's worth. You're here, and you go through everything, and then you may have some questions from all the councillors.
Okay. So Wendy, I might get you to flip to the renderings. It should be attachment 2. Oh, sorry, 3. Just so we can all look at the building. They're big pictures, sorry. So this is the view from McKinnon Drive. And if you keep scrolling down, Wendy, this shot probably shows the sloped roof the best. It's super traditional hip roof, low slope. It kind of minimizes the height to as most as we can. And so then the next variance that we're looking at is to replace the flat roof with 30% soft landscaping with a low pitched hip roof. So another benefit to the sloped roof is that it conceals rooftop equipment. So it does kind of add that extra residential feel onto it. And then for the 30% soft landscaping requirement, if you do look in the bylaw, it does say that flat roofs shall have 30% soft landscaping. And so whenever we look at adding a sloped roof, it does remove that requirement to have the 30% soft landscaping. In the official plan, it does say that green roofs are encouraged. It doesn't say that they are required, though. And so there are kind of a number of other sustainability features of the building. There are heavy landscaping requirements of this building as well. And so the next variance, if we look at the street wall and street wall step back, so I can kind of explain what a step back is first. So in the CMU zone, it's a requirement that the building recesses after the third floor. And so that recess is what we'd call a step back. And then the wall that's closest to the street, being the first three floors, that's what we would call a street wall. And so the developer has proposed to put building articulation instead of doing the step back. So Wendy, if you scroll up, the best kind of design feature that they can stop there maybe. Yeah, the best design feature that kind of recreates that recess is where the extra thick framing around the balconies create that illusion of a jut out, and then it's complemented by the different colors between the third and fourth floor. And so the purpose of that usually is for really tall buildings. If you step back after so many floors, it reduces that tunnel feel. Because there's not a big apartment building proposed for across the street, it's zoned for a kind of big box style development or maybe a mixed use development. It wouldn't be that tall building that would create that tunnel feeling. So it is an appropriate area in the town for it. And in addition, they're proposing to have some type of stonework along the first floor. And that also brings the eye down to a pedestrian scale. So that's kind of the thought behind the building articulation replacement. In terms of underground parking exemption, what kicks in the underground parking requirement is the extra height. So if this was proposed to be a flat roof, they would not need the underground parking requirement. So just because they've added the sloped roof to help it blend in with the existing adjacent area, it adds that extra height, which kicks in that requirement to put 50% of the parking underground. In terms of what's in the official plan, it doesn't necessarily say that underground parking is required. It doesn't say that it's encouraged in areas other than the waterfront, really. And so the other kind of argument that you could have for underground parking is kind of the reduction in non-permeable surfaces, is what we call them. So it does create stormwater management concerns. There aren't really any concerns in this area. There is a large strip of landscaping proposed between the R1 or the R2 zone and the existing parking lot, and the proposed parking lot, sorry. And so that buffer would help kind of shield the look of those vehicles as well. And then whenever you're looking at sustainability, the construction, I was reading some studies, and the construction of one parking space can equal the operation of a car for up to a year. And that's kind of on the lower side. And then in terms of cost, one space could be up to an extra $100,000 onto the cost of the project. So something like that for this size of a development would deter the project entirely. And so whenever we look in the official plan, there's a quote that I'd like to read out. So page 56 of the official plan describes the core area as being the most visible, arguably the most valuable and most central block of land within the town. It goes on to state that the Stratford Town Council must work closely with landowners, developers in the core area to maximize both individual benefits and the broader community benefits of a sound core area plan. Council must be proactive in providing leadership to maximize the long-term development potential of this area. And since the official plan was last formally updated in 2014, the town has gone on to do its own growth studies. And that indicates that we're looking for an additional, or will need an additional 8,300 new dwelling units. And for context, there's currently only approximately a little less than 500 dwelling units in the town. So in the context of the extra discretion that the official plan gives council, as well as our growth management studies, these variances seem to be in line with the official plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions by any member of council?
So just, just to your comment, Sarah, or Ms. Kennedy, about impermeable surfaces, stormwater management, things like that, will we see a condition in a future resolution when there's like a development permit for the specific building, or how would, I know this is in this area, core mixed use, which is a lot of as of right development, things of that nature. In terms of stormwater management, is this something we should be addressing now, or is that something that can be done in the normal development process, considering the form-based code used in the core mixed use zone?
This would be something that we would look at when we're doing the site plan approval.
Okay. All right.
So that would be after the variances. There's
Okay.
a long list of requirements for those variants, or for the site plan approval, one of which is a stormwater management plan,
Okay.
and it will have to be reviewed by both the province and the town.
Okay, all right, great. Just want to make sure that's top of mind, but it sounds like it is. Okay, thank you.
No, I think that's a great job, Sarah. Thank you very much. I think I'll, Phil, Mr. Ruff, and Dale as well. I really respect the work that you all do, and the analysis and the good insight that you give council with regard to all our planning issues. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Very informative presentation. Okay, any other comments or questions? In terms of, this is just one resolution, so I'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, the next one, Councillor McDonald.
So we just voted, I guess, so that would have been 12G, which is the building height exemption. 12, yeah, that was the first one. So the next one is 12H, which is to replace a flat roof with a 30% soft landscaping with a low-pitched hip roof.
And you've already read that one into,
12G, H, I, and J have all been read into the record,
Okay.
moved and seconded.
Yep.
And as proposed, we just kind of had the one discussion to wrap it all up there.
okay, so a vote on number, on H now. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. We'll now vote on, call the question on I. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. We'll now vote on J. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. So now we're down to K.
Yes. So the next three are requests for public meetings. So I'll certainly read in the resolutions, but I'll leave it up to everybody.
thing, yeah.
You know, but it's certainly, it's just for public meetings, I'll just note that. So PH 027-2025, RZ 004-2025, general text and zoning map amendments to the town of Stratford, zoning and development bylaw number 45, and general amendments to the official plan designation map regarding the Stratford waterfront area. Request for public meeting. Whereas the planning department is proposing rezoning of 28 lots from general commercial, highway commercial, low density residential, multiple unit residential, and waterfront residential to waterfront mixed use zone as shown in the attached map to this resolution package, an updated revision to the waterfront mixed-use zone in the town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45. Whereas the planning department is proposing amendments to the town of Stratford official plan to permit additional mixed-use designation to the adopted 2008 core area subsidiary plan. Whereas this amendment to rezone is born from the Housing Accelerator Fund initiatives to provide mixed-use development where possible, to permit residential units and encourage new commercial development with the town. Whereas this rezoning and text amendment has been developed in coordination with the official plan and zoning and development bylaw, and this proposed mixed-use development area has been included in the public engagement process. Whereas pursuant to the Provincial Planning Act and Section 3 of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, Council must hold a public meeting to receive comments from the public on the proposed amendments. Be it resolved that a public meeting be held on a date and time to be determined by staff and Planning Development Heritage Committee in order to provide an opportunity for the town to present the proposed amendments to residents and to obtain their input. This resolution bears a recommendation of the Planning Development Heritage Committee on June 2nd and is moved by myself as chair of that committee.
Okay, seconder? Do I have a second? Thank you, Councillor. Okay. We
I'll
have
just-
a moved and seconded.
In the interest of time, I'll just ask for the question.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried.
Thank you. Next resolution, PH 0028-2025, A03-2025, text amendments to our zoning and development bylaw number 45, short-term rental accommodation, request for public meeting. Whereas the Planning Department is proposing several text amendments involving the incorporation of a new short-term rental accommodation definition and provisions to provide clarity around approvals and regulations in the Town of Stratford zoning and development bylaw number 45. Whereas the following are main components to the proposed amendment as follows. 1, add the definition, quote, short-term rental accommodation and some minor amendments to bed and breakfast. 2, replace section 8.28 bed and breakfast with section 8.28 short-term rental accommodation. 3, add regulations and requirements to allow town staff to approve and permit short-term rental accommodations within the town. Whereas pursuant to the Provincial Planning Act and Section 3 of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, Council must hold a public meeting to receive comments from the public on the proposed bylaw. Be it resolved that a public meeting be held on a date and time to be determined by staff and the Planning Development and Heritage Committee in order to provide an opportunity for the town to present the proposed new bylaw to residents and to obtain their input. This resolution bears a recommendation to Planning Development and Heritage Committee on June 2nd, and as chair of that committee, I do move this motion.
Okay, seconder? Thank you, Councillor Chandler. Thank you. Okay, any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried.
Next resolution is 12M, PH 029-2025, RZ 002-25, Falcon Homes, Ducks Landing, PID 1085976, rezoning from R1 to TCR. Whereas an application has been received from Falcon Homes Limited for a request to rezone PID 1085976, located on Ducks Landing from the low-density residential zone to the town center residential zone. Whereas the applicant is proposing the zoning change to facilitate a future 6-unit stacked townhouse development located in between an existing 18-unit multiple attached dwelling and a single detached dwelling. Whereas pursuant to the Provincial Planning Act and Section 3 of the Town of Stratford Zoning and Development Bylaw number 45, Council shall hold a public meeting to solicit input from residents on the proposed zoning amendment application. Be it resolved that a public meeting be held to solicit input from residents on the application to rezone PID 1085976, located on Ducks Landing from the low-density residential zone to the town center residential zone. This resolution bears a recommendation to Planning Development Heritage Committee, discussed via email poll taking place on June 3rd through June 6th, 2025. And it's moved by myself as chair of that committee.
Okay, seconder? Thank you. Deputy Mayor? Sorry, I was just looking over this way. Okay, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone against? Motion carried. Okay, thank you, Councilor McDonald. As I said before, you earned your money tonight. Okay. Infrastructure, I'll ask the chair of that committee, Deputy Mayor Gallant, to give his report.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. We had a meet, our last meeting was on June 11th. A well-attended public information session was held by Department of Transportation and Infrastructure on May 29th. Here at the Town Hall, the department presented a plan and timelines for the Glen Stewart Drive roundabout project set to begin the end of June. They also reviewed the next phases of the upgrades to the Trans-Canada Highway / Stratford Hopeton Road intersection and surrounding areas to take place over the next few years. The session was very informative and an event we plan to host each year. CBLC have begun the design process for the sewer lift stations standby generators project. They have visited each site, confirming details of electrical infrastructure, and have completed the typographic survey of each site. The design package will be completed and issued for tender by the end of July. Quotes are being requested for the design and parking lot on Shepherd Drive and will be received on Friday, June 13th. It's anticipated that the design will be completed and issued by tender by the end of July. We have 38 applications for the sump pump redirection rebate program. To date, with approximately $60,000 of rebates have been issued already. With a considerable amount of funding remaining, we encourage customers to call for more informative on the eligibility of program and sign up before things get busy in the program again this fall. As summer gets busy here, casual staff are hiring, are still underway. Approximately 80% of positions are filled. Grass cutting is in full swing. All property, sports fields, and other areas we cut using our equipment and resources. Consumes roughly 40 to 50 man-hours per week. Speed radar, monitor, and speed hump installation is ongoing on speed humps installed on Glen Stewart Drive, Hollis Avenue, Aptos Drive, Emily Drive, Brookside Drive, and Heron Drive. Maintenance and landscaping continues at all town-owned properties. Bylaw inspection, enforcement, and follow-up is picked up considerably as it does every year at this time, particularly in the term of grass complaints. Utility staff attended the municipal utilities meeting on May 8th, hosted by the Department of Environment, Energy, and Climate Action in Charlottetown. Coordinated electrical installations at the Waterfront Park, ongoing right now. Water turn-on and meter installs, the seasonal properties will continue through June. Water valve exercises and program has begun. Sewer and water component maintenance is underway and will continue throughout the summer. Water and sewer inspections, meter installations, and water turn-ons for new development are ongoing. Ongoing inspection and maintenance of water and sewer systems and facilities, and managing ongoing customer and resident inquiries and concerns. During the month of May, there was no sewer or water emergency. And that's my report, Your Worship. Any
Okay,
questions?
thank you. Any comments or questions on Deputy Mayor's report?
Just on the CBCL design and hopefully construction of the backup generators. Do you have any idea, Deputy, as to what kind of timeline we'd be looking at? I guess, you know, a mindful, or I see Ms. Woodard there as well.
Yeah.
My hope, and I appreciate it's just a hope, it would be before hurricane season, but don't know if that's realistic or not.
Director of Infrastructure.
You don't look
Jeannie Woodard.
brimming with
I
confidence.
was going to say perhaps
approaching.
for next year's hurricane season. So I think we mentioned that the design is to be completed by the end of July. We're going to
Yeah.
tender it at that point for probably a 2-week period to gain submissions for the construction work. The hiccup is the waiting time for generators, for the equipment. So we're hearing probably a 30-week to 50-week wait on getting that material in. So that will very likely postpone any installation work to this time next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, thank you.
If we happen to be able to source them sooner, obviously the work would be done, but I'm not going to let people believe that that's very likely.
Thank you, Ms. Woodard. Okay, I want to commend Councillor McDonald for his initiative on this. I think he's really carried this idea forward and championed it, and it's nice to see it even, albeit late, you know, a little later than anticipated, at least on the horizon.
Yeah, you know, and I appreciate that, but really the credit goes to the citizens of Ward 2 especially, who were pretty vocal in seeing that need for it. And look, I mean, I think we all saw what happens sometimes when we have adverse weather events, I mean, extremely adverse weather events, and if we can improve our resiliency, accessing funds, then I think that's good work by the town. So I really, I mean, full credit goes to the residents, but also Ms. Woodard's staff and CEO Crosby for being very creative in finding the funding for it.
and council has supported it, so thank you to everyone for this, because I think it'll put the town in a good position, or a better position, next time we have a major weather event. Okay, any other comments or questions on Deputy Mayor's report? If not, we'll go to Committee of the Whole. The minutes are in your package. Not sure we need a report on that. I guess I'll ask the Deputy Mayor to field any questions with regard to the report or the minutes. Any comments or questions on the minutes?
No.
Okay, we'll move on to sustainability, and I'll ask Councillor Chandler to give her report. She chairs that committee.
Sure, I'll just go through this quickly. We met on June 4th, and here are a few highlights. Residential tree planting program, another successful year. More than half the trees are planted. We have such great uptick on that. It's a wonderful initiative. Summer staff are currently maintaining trees on town properties, including pruning and removing metal stakes, etc. Approximately 1,000 trees will be planted across Stratford this year. Did you guys know that? That's a lot. Fullerton's Creek Conservation Area, and again, sorry, I've lost my own train of thought. Staff are collecting total suspended solid samples following major rainfalls in the town to monitor runoff from development sites. And if issues are found, including with the sediment control measures in place, the planning department are notified for follow-up with the developer. We'll be hosting and engaging with the business community, and that's on our agenda as we view it as a really important demographic or population within our town. And so we hope to relaunch the Stratford Business Group. So we had great discussions on how to engage them. The most recent business survey is now available on the town website. There was a low response rate to this survey, which I guess would point to the many opportunities that exist to re-engage the business community. I think it's especially important in the new development, school, et cetera, just where we're headed, that we are able to have regular dialogue back and forth with that community. And the Diversity and Inclusion Subcommittee held a launch of the town's 30th Anniversary Legacy Book, as we know, and discussed on May 15th, and well done to everyone who was involved. And I think projects like that are so wonderful, again, in the engagement piece, in the legacy piece, and just in the multi-generational uptick, I guess, and that sort of passing of knowledge. I thought it was wonderful. So congratulations to the staff who executed that from beginning to end. And that concludes the sustainability report. Does anybody have any questions?
Any comments or questions? Okay, thank you for your report, Councillor.
You're welcome. And next, we're going to move on to the transit,
transit report.
graph or report. And I just want to say this. I was a part of the meeting in where we heard from the transit provider and got to ask questions. And I always do, I have a real interest in transit. And if I could, because this is on my mind. As you guys know, I did work for a major company in the US, a tech company, a rideshare company. So for 7 years, all I did was consume information on transit, ride shares, public transit, bike sharing, scooters, etc. So it became very much my interest and my knowledge base in studying traffic trends, people, human trends. The company I worked for did everything from provide non-emergency medical transport because there were shortfalls to transport workers to industrial parks, et cetera. So they were continually engaging with their publics. They were calculating and compiling data and shaping their offerings to best suit people's needs. So in our transit and in transportation or in traffic, all that sort of stuff, it's genuinely interesting to me. In addition, I compiled reports on trust and safety, which chronicle the instances of fatalities, injuries on bikes interacting with traffic, et cetera. So My questions, when we look back to development or traffic studies, it's from a genuine interest, because although I'm no expert, it certainly is my wheelhouse. When it comes to public transit, I can't wait to hear some of the feedback from our provider on some of the questions that we asked, in that we are looking for more information on who the current riders are, so we can build that profile, so we can work with the provider to actually improve services and provide that sort of level of service to them that meets their needs and grows with our community. So the transit summary right now, it looks like we're flattening a little bit. We began this year lower, and there was a steady climb. If it had continued that trajectory, we would have seen more numbers. This past month, we did not. So we can speculate on why those riders or the numbers didn't continue to increase. Things like potential school year ending, all that, et cetera. But when we don't have data, all we're doing is speculating. So any questions on anything that I've just said?
The provider did say that everything did flatline across the whole system because of immigration and the reduction in that, so that was one factor in place, but definitely
Yes.
your other questions are valid and will probably give us some more information as well.
And I do agree, and the transit provider did say that, but when I was looking for numbers on specific riders, student ridership, et cetera, who's paying this, that sort of thing, when we don't have that, we can associate a lower ridership with a drop-off in students, but when we don't know if students make up the majority of the ridership on our buses, we can't actually say that with certainty, if that makes sense. So I would love to know those profiles in hopes of working with the provider to provide the best service we can.
Okay, thank you. All right.
I guess our last meeting, committee of the whole with, what's his first name? Matthew.
Matthew.
Yeah, we talked about increase in different times, services too, so,
Mhm.
you know, more times and
Yeah.
for people with appointments and doctor appointments, which is nice to see, so we'll increase that.
Yeah, I think we're looking at September, I guess, for
Yeah, it's come
some of the
September.
improvements, eh?
Yeah, so it's
Yeah,
gonna be good with
yeah.
the universities getting back and everything else. So.
Yeah, more so, and so you can go from one spot in Stratford to another spot and then get
Yeah.
back home again
Yeah.
Without having to
Yeah.
do a whole circle or whatever, yeah.
That's what I hear
Yes.
from residents, different places, at Tim Hortons or Sobeys and so on, the
Yeah,
people that we want more time, so.
that should solve the problem, hopefully, yeah, yeah.
And I think it's great that they have that willingness to work with us, and it supports our messaging in that we can live and work and play and shop in Stratford. So it's important that our
Yeah.
residents don't have that barrier, that they can do all those things easily.
And we really want to work with the provider as well to provide service to Ward 3, as
Yeah.
Councillor Jackson and Deputy Mayor Gallant have been advocating for quite a long period of time, and I think there is a promise to look at providing that in the future, but it is something that's absolutely needed.
In all
Yeah.
fairness, we did it years and years ago, I remember our last term, and it didn't work out that well, and we stepped up, and I think we put $10,000 into it. It was a,
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
15,000. We put it into a pilot, and
we tried.
it was
to do
during the pandemic, to be
Yeah.
fair, and it wasn't successful. But at the same time,
We're trying.
the timing was probably not the best either.
Yeah, and if I may, that was, you know, as an observer at that time, not being on council, I know, you know, the pilot was kind of doomed by the pandemic. But we, you know, we understand in Ward 3, we're very passionate about seeing
Yeah.
transit. You know, hopefully we get that connection from Reeves through at some point here and see that. But we are, you know, we're you know, adamant that we do get service some point, but we're patient too because it needs to work. Transit systems aren't easy to design. I know Councillor Chandler is well aware, and so we are excited about the fall and the new intercity, intertown routes. But and I want to thank Councillor Chandler for leading by example in this. I know I spoke to her the other day, and she's going to take the bus at least 2 or 3 days a week to work. So that's real leadership. Thank you.
I appreciate that, and I have taken the bus, and I've done the provincial route as well, where I've taken it from Montague to Charlottetown, et cetera, and as it passes through Charlottetown, and we definitely can see opportunities in that, if there was interfacing with that we could move people through to Charlottetown faster.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the answers
Yeah.
that we discussed with the provider, is that if we can make that interplay between, or connection between what they call Toonie Transport or the provincial intercity transit
Yeah.
with, our transit and the T3 transit, then it may be better service for everybody,
Yeah.
including people coming from the east.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
okay.
look at the households, Councillor Jackson and I, the households, about 160 households in Reeves Estate and over 100 and some in Clearview Estate. It's been nice, it's
Yeah.
the access and
Absolutely.
it'd be
Yeah.
nice.
And I think they mentioned that at the current time, there's an issue, a safety issue,
Yeah,
not on the way into town, but on the way back, in the
Mm.
sense that the people that get dropped off would have to cross the Trans-Canada Highway.
yeah,
There's no safe way to do that right now, unless the bus goes into Reeves, which would mean it would have to get back out into traffic at rush hour, which might
Yeah.
create some problems
Yeah.
and delays as well,
yeah.
so.
We made a suggestion of the bus transit come in Reeves and did a circle
Yeah.
and back out.
I think the answer is when
Yeah.
we get the connection at Hollis, and
Yeah.
it'll come up into Reeves and,
Oh, yeah, that's-
and we do the route
that's
down
gonna
through
s- that's gonna-
Clearview and
That's
then
going to
back.
solve it. That's going to
Yeah.
solve it.
Anyway, thank you very much for your report. And you also have the next one, Intergovernmental Affairs and Accountability.
Yes.
Councillor Chandler.
I do, and that's just some quick highlights. Met on May 22nd, more great discussions on our annual resident survey, and the results from that, Wendy, they haven't been presented yet? No, Friday morning. Sorry, yep, thank you. And they will also be released publicly. And there was some discussion on ideas to increase participation numbers, other feedback. But it is worth noting that the most recent survey did see a small increase over 2024 and remains a statistically valid survey and a primary engagement tool with our community. And we had the discussions at the meeting too. The town is very fortunate in that it does have that level of engagement. Personally, I'd still love to see more, but people are fatigued, like to still show climb when people are ignoring everything, that their inboxes are so full and people's requests are so full, is, I guess, worth noting. Did you want to do an update in regards to meetings with the MLAs or anything like that? You've already done that in your,
Yeah, we've met with the MLAs, and we're meeting them on a regular basis, CAO and councillors, and we're setting up meetings on a regular basis and discussing issues, as well as with our Member of Parliament, Kent McDonald. So there are issues that get regularly looked at and discussed.
and then we also had updates in regards to transit negotiations, revenue sharing, and fire company request. As well, you provided the PEIM meeting updates.
Yeah, and there's some issues with the Federation that we had discussions at FPEIM about the Rural Infrastructure Fund, about the fact that the uptake isn't there for the rural areas, and it's a fairly substantial amount of money, $25 million that is being held by the Federation of PEI municipalities, which in our view, or my view anyway, it should be made available where the housing is needed. It doesn't matter whether it's a rural or an urban area. And but that's an ongoing discussion as well.
Okay, and that concludes this report.
Oh, thank you very much. Okay, we'll move to the next item, inquiries by members of council. Anything about the town that anyone would like to inquire about or follow up on? If not, we'll move to other committees, and Deputy Mayor Gallant, Stratford Seniors Complex is your committee.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. We met yesterday, we had a great meeting, and we had good quorum, and we had Chris, one of the maintenance gentlemen there, and another partner really looking after the building itself, and filled us in on details up to date. So We're working with Infrastructure Department to plan capital projects based on the building assessment report. A new agreement has been signed by CMHC, which was great, for 2 years here, till, well, I guess it goes to March 31st, 2028. Apartment number 5, the vacant apartment that was vacant, was filled. Apartment inspections will be done this month by our committee staff. Kim and Paul Edward will go on site, seniors complex, to get tenants to fill in their new leases and circulation and calculation from the new CMHC program. Review replacement reserve funds to figure out which capital projects can be completed in the current year, and right now there's currently 25 people on the waiting list.
That's great, thank you. And I understand that tenants insurance is now in place for all the tenants.
Yes.
They've all, that was
Yeah,
part of the requirement of the new leases, yeah?
Yeah, we got some, Kim gave us a few tasks, and
Yeah.
we another committee member with me, and we door to door, and everybody's insured, so tenant insurance, so
Yeah,
up to
good
date.
work.
Up
Good
to
work.
date, yeah.
Great
And I
work.
noticed around the table yesterday, a lot of people want to step up and do other stuff, and
Yeah.
it's nice to see that Kim and Paulette don't have to do everything, so everybody
Yeah.
fill in the blanks, right? So
That's
nice to
great.
see, and they have some pride in the seniors there, so it's a great, low income, great facility, and the spotless to paint, and we got the carpets done there a couple weeks ago, and it's up to
Yeah.
date. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be nice if we had enough, resources to be able to put something in place with the CMHC for the 25 people that are currently on the
Yep.
waiting list. They're looking for rent-geared income accommodation.
Yep.
Okay, thanks for your report.
Can I-
Just have
Oh,
one
sorry, go
question.
ahead.
Yeah,
You go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Councillor.
I just want to double check. I know we got the air conditioning unit last year, I think,
Yeah.
and that's still in effect. Like, are we doing any supplemental thing, or that's just in one area? I just do so much reading about
Yeah.
heat and warnings and making sure that adequate access to that sort of thing is available.
Yes. We're looking at our main, room there, the
Common room?
common room. Yeah.
They're
So-
in the common room,
Yeah.
accessible anytime.
Yeah.
Yes, and it's still working, service excellent.
As far as I know.
It's difficult to put heat pumps in each room because of cost, right? And the cost of the rent will go up, and they're in that fixed income. So we're getting these studies done on it, and eventually, but at the same time, we're looking at the common room for an air conditioner and so on. I
Do-
know.
Do we know, did the other similar building in Stratford get heat pumps in each apartment?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, there's some heat pumps in Cotton Park, and
No, I'd heard, it might be just, like, I'd heard that was installed and approved. Okay.
Yeah, and that might be something we could look at in the future if we can get some funding from, environmental or whatever, that it might be something to look at. Would certainly be a great addition. It would save money in the wintertime, because right now we're heating with oil, and if we could go to heat pumps, it's the most efficient form of heating and cooling there is, so it would be something that would be well received, I think.
yeah.
My question, Deputy, was, do we have maybe Ms. O'Connell can answer this, is there an age to the wait list in terms of what's the longest somebody's been waiting on there, kind of thing? Just
Say it again, an age?
in terms of what's the longest somebody's been on that wait list for?
Oh, I think 2 or 3 years, Kim.
There's some people on there, 2017, but they've refused it numerous times.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's
Oh,
not a lot
okay.
of turnover, I understand, but there is, and when there is turnover, a lot of times people get asked, and
Okay.
it's not convenient for them to give up whatever they have, or they're not ready to
Okay.
go in yet, or whatever, so, yeah, but that, I'm not sure if somebody that actually hasn't turned it down, what the actual wait list would, or how long it would be waiting, but.
I think that's sort of what I'm driving at, I guess, is what's the, what's the extent of the need, I guess, and I mean, so I'm just trying to get a handle on that, if that makes sense.
They're not always a great indicator because people's circumstances change. They may have a new partner, or they're may no longer even be qualified for the criteria, or they've since found other housing, but they refuse it, so we keep their names there. But it's not like a daily check-in because the availability is intermittent so you still have to go through it. But stale dated lots of times, just by nature of
Right.
life.
I think what we could do is just take a look at the list. I would say then active listing would be 13. Like divide it in half, because there's a lot of people you just call them and say, I want to stay on the list, but I'm not interested at this point in time, and so they can refuse it twice and then they go to the end of the list.
But those people they're not necessarily without housing,
Oh, that's
right?
correct.
Like, so it's not even a need, like they could live, or they're envisioning, like they've been proactive in looking or whatever, so.
Yeah.
mm.
And this is independent living too, it's not assisted living, eh? So it's,
That's right.
so it is something that is a transitional type of housing for seniors in a lot of cases.
Right.
It's a great model, great model.
Okay, anything else with regard to the seniors committee? No. Okay, we'll move on. Appointments to the committees, any appointments? No? And proclamations, I'll just read this proclamation. It's National Indigenous Month, and whereas in the spirit of reconciliation, the town of Stratford acknowledges that the land upon which we gather is unceded Mi'kmaq territory, and Mi'kmaq is covered by the historic treaties of peace and friendship. And whereas June is recognized as National Indigenous History Month in Canada and is an opportunity to bring awareness and understanding of the diverse histories, resilience, and achievements of Indigenous peoples across our country. And whereas June 21st is National Indigenous Peoples Day, an opportunity to amplify Indigenous voices and perspectives, enriching our understanding and appreciation of Indigenous cultures and heritage across Turtle Island. And whereas June 30th is Indigenous Survivors Day and provides a significant opportunity to recognize and honor the resilience, strength, and cultural heritage of Indigenous communities that have endured historical traumas, including the 60s scoop, the Millennium Scoop, birth alerts, and the enduring legacy of residential schools. And whereas we recommit our efforts as a whole community to continue to actively build meaningful relationships with the Mi'kmaq community based on respect, cultural understanding, and reconciliation, to advance inclusivity, diversity, and equity on our path of reconciliation. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Steve Ogden, Mayor of the town of Stratford, do hereby proclaim June to be National Indigenous Peoples Month, and the date in Stratford, and the date of June 21st, 2025 as National Indigenous Peoples Day, and the date of June 30th, 2025 is Indigenous Survivors Day, and that's for within the town of Stratford, but I understand it's in the whole country as well. In witness thereof, whereof, I have set my hand and caused the seal of the town of Stratford to be affixed hereto. Signed, Steve Ogden, the 11th day of June, 2026.
2025.
Okay. With that, any other business that anyone would like to bring to the table at this time?
I would, Your Worship. I think our special lady, Mary McCaskill, is retiring after 23 years. This is her last meeting, I believe, unless we call a special meeting of some sort, but we may do that yet. So this is my second time on council. Mary's been a constant, put up with a lot of silly questions, a lot of improperly filled out expense forms and things like that. But you know, it's been a privilege to be on council with someone like Mary, being here to kind of get us all sorted out. Look at 589 pages in this package today. Could probably write a book on some of the stories or things you've seen. So Mayor, we're gonna miss you. Like I know Jeremy worked beside Mary every day. So just as a councillor, I do, and as a resident, appreciate everything you've done for the town. You know, looking forward to your 27th of June retirement, and I hope all my colleagues are as appreciative as I am for what Mary's contributed to the town over this number of years. I mean, 23 years is a long time. Yeah. Thanks, Mary.
Well said, Jody, or Councillor Jackson. Well said.
Councillor Jackson, you beat me to the punch there, but I just want to say, Mary, that Mary and I have worked together for 20 years, and in the capacity of the CAO or the clerk to CAO in the last 3 years, and gone to Mary for a lot of advice and help over the years, and she'll be thoroughly missed, and it's going to be an awful void to fill, and look forward to seeing what Mary's doing in the future, and I wish her all the best, so thank you, Mary.
And I want to add my thanks to as well. I think you've done a great job, Mary, and I really appreciate everything you've done for me personally and for the town in general. I think you've been the epitome of a good public servant who has really served the people of Stratford and the council and all the staff. You've done a great job, so thank you very much. And I really wish you well in the future, and all the best to you and your family. Thanks. And just before we close, I also want to recognize our Chief Administrative Officer. He was recognized by the CAMA, which is the Chief Administrative Management Association. Is that? Association of Municipal Administrators. I was close. Not even close. Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators.
Was this in Montreal?
He was recognized for his long service and dedicated service to the organization at a national level. So just want to make sure that we recognize that as well, that he's really provided a good service not only to the town but to the organization of his, and he's been recognized by his fellow professional administrators. So thank you, Jeremy.
That's great. A lot of things happen at Treehouse.
Yeah, it's sad to see Mary leaving, but I know for her it's a good, it's a move to. Retirement's a good gig. I think you'll enjoy it. So, lots of things to do. You wonder what you did with your time before you retired. Yeah. Okay. With that, any other business that anyone would like to bring to the table? If not, I'll call for a motion for adjournment. So moved. We're now adjourned.